Good evening and welcome to tonight's forum for Washington County Circuit Court Judge. The format of the forum will be as follows. Each candidate will be offered an opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement. They will then be asked questions on topics of general voter interest. The candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. The participants will respond in alternating order for each question. Our forum will then conclude with the candidates giving a 2-minute closing statement. Debbie Santopolo will be keeping time for us tonight. She's right over here, so not right in your line of sight, but hopefully you'll keep an eye on her. And please remember, this is not a debate. The Chamber's goal is to provide a professional, courteous, and unbiased environment for the candidates to share their views with the voters of West Bend and Washington County. We ask the candidates to please respect the time constraints and yield the floor when directed to do so. I would now like to welcome the two candidates running for Washington County Circuit Court Judge. We have incumbent Judge Ryan Hetzel and Attorney Russell Jones. We'll start with opening remarks. Judge Hetzel, you may go first.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here from the Chamber. My name is Ryan Hetzel. I am the current Circuit Court Judge for Washington County Branch 1. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room. That's really nice to see. For those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised here in West Bend at the old St. Joseph's Hospital, attended public school. My parents were 2 elementary teachers. I have 2 sisters that are still living in this community. I graduated from West Bend East in 1990, UW Stevens Point, political science 3.5 years later, and then attended Marquette University Law School where I obtained my law degree in 1997. For the next 25 years, I've essentially practiced law primarily in this community. I've lived in Washington County for 48 of the 51 years I've been on this earth. Ever since I got my law degree, I felt it was important to give back to this community that has given so much to me. I've made it a priority to give back my time, give back my energy, my money towards this community. I've participated in volunteer boards such as Citizen Advocacy. I served on the United Way board for 6 years, CA board 6 years. I was part of the Downtown West Bend Association for 15 years, bid board for 2 years. I bring that up not to take credit for it, but because I think it shows a commitment to this community. I sponsored baseball teams. I sponsored Music on Main. When the farmers market permits were being questioned in this very room, I came here and litigated it to save the West Bend farmers market. I think this election is a stark contrast between somebody who is committed to this community, somebody who's from this community, and an outsider who moved here about a year ago. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judge Hetzel. Mr. Jones, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I am new to the community. I moved to the community 2.5 years ago, to be exact, and I moved to the community to be closer to my wife's family. My mother-in-law worked for probation and parole for 17 years in this community. My father-in-law lives in the Theresa area. My wife grew up in the area. And my wife and I thought it was important to move back to the area where she grew up, and we've done that. When I did move back to the area, what I learned was that we have a judiciary in Washington County that is dominated by Evers appointees or, quite frankly, Democrat appointees. All 4 of the judges currently in Washington County are either appointed by Governor Evers or appointed by Governor Doyle. None of them have sat for a contested election. And so when I learned that and I moved to this community, which is the reddest county in the state, I was surprised, and I decided to throw my hat in the ring because clearly, obviously, the lawyers in this community have decided that they didn't want to do that. So I'm really glad to be an addition to this community and be in Washington County. For 20 years, I practiced law, primarily in criminal defense. My offices are in Milwaukee. I've conducted well in excess of 250 jury trials, and my experience spans civil, criminal, family, and I actually started in insurance defense in Hartford, Wisconsin. But nonetheless, I really welcome the opportunity to be able to speak to the Chamber. I appreciate the invitation, and I like to speak to the people of the community. So thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with our first question. Judge Hetzel, you'll go first on this one. How would you characterize your judicial philosophy?
Well, thank you. My judicial philosophy is to follow the law. That's what circuit court judges are required to do. Chief Justice Roberts from the U.S. Supreme Court described the role of a circuit court judge as calling balls and strikes. We don't pitch, we don't bat, we don't play for teams. It's important that everybody in the court be treated fairly and equally, and that's what I intend to do, and that's what I have done since I've been on the bench. We don't make the law. Judge Boros used to say that all the time, my predecessor. We don't make the law, but it's our job to follow the law, to make sure that everybody has their day in court, everybody's treated fairly. That's what I have done, and again, that's what I intend to do. So that's my judicial philosophy. Follow the law because that's what I'm required to do. Don't be above the law.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
Well, thank you. Well, I have a legal philosophy, and I think it's interesting for any judge to say they're going to follow the law. I think that's kind of the obvious answer. The question is, when you're a circuit court judge, there's a lot of discretion a circuit court judge has. For example, the law might be, in a family case, what's in the best interest of the child. That's the extent of the law on that issue, and a judge needs to then be guided by that, and their values are brought to that decision. Same thing in a sentencing, for example. The only factors, legal factors in a sentencing, are the character of the defendant, the need to protect the community, right, and the seriousness of the crime. Well, those are kind of nebulous terms. So to say you're going to follow the law, I think a little bit elementary. I think what you need to do is make sure that you aren't advocating for your position. And what I mean by that is that judges typically, when they're advocating from the bench, find a piece of law or find a piece of authority, as they call it, and then they twist that authority into what they want to be as their ruling. Much like my opponent has done with this alleged article that came out February 6th in the Journal Sentinel. He has just decided that it's truth rather than actually doing any sort of investigation into it. But the reality is you can't be a judicial activist. You must look at both the precedent and the law, but then the facts and the context of each circumstance matters. Otherwise, what's the point of the courts? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I will now move on to our second question. Mr. Jones, you'll go first on this one.
Sure.
Please describe how your legal career leading up to this point prepared you to take the bench.
Thank you for the question. Well, first of all, and as I mentioned in my opening, I've got, like I said, conservatively 250 trials. I stopped counting, but trial work in particular is so critical for a circuit court judge. And why do I say that? A circuit court judge generally gets to make decisions, and they have time to do that, right? So if a party wants to brief an issue, we get to look at the law, we get to look back and really make an assessed, well-informed decision. In trial, it's live theater. Trial, you don't have time to get it right the second time. You got to get it right when you're in trial. So having extensive trial experience that I clearly have allows me to know those decisions to make in the moment rather than someone that has maybe less experience. So I think that my trial experience, number one, is what would make me an excellent judge. I think the rest of my experience flows from the breadth of my experience, meaning family law, subrogation, insurance defense, civil litigation, all of those areas that you're going to see as a judge. You're not just going to see criminal, right? And so I have the breadth of experience to be able to handle all of those cases, and I've handled those types of cases. So in the last 20 years, I think I've been perfectly prepared to be a judge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Judge Hetzel, same question.
Sure, thank you. Well, I disagree with my opponent on his background. His office is in Milwaukee, and he is a criminal defense lawyer, and that's what he's practiced primarily for the last 20 years. For 25 years, I've worked in this community in front of the judges that support me and the attorneys in the Washington County Bar Association that also support me. I have that broad background experience he's talking about. I have practiced criminal defense, workers' compensation. I've represented injured people in civil lawsuits. I've represented local businesses in those disputes. I've handled hundreds of divorces. I've represented children, the best interests of the children as a guardian ad litem. That's experience that my opponent doesn't have. I have a very well-rounded background. I've also tried these cases. One thing about trying cases is you can't wing them. You can't show up for court on some day and just hope for results. They require a great deal of preparation. I've tried extremely complex civil cases. I've tried very serious criminal cases, and that experience, I think, has served me quite well. So the people that know me best, the people that have seen me in this community, have seen what I've done, they all are supporting me. I've got 8 judges from this community that have seen my work. They are all endorsing me. I've got almost every member of the Washington County Bar Association who knows me. They are endorsing me and my experience. Attorney Jones can't say the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question number 3. Judge Hetzel, you'll be first on this one. Please describe your legal work in Washington County.
I just did. So when I got out of law school, I had clerked at a local firm that did litigation work. They did criminal, they did family, they did personal injury cases, were comp. Fell in love with it. Just the energy in the office, the litigation, hearing the lawyers talk. I knew that's what I wanted to do. When I came out of law school, I worked briefly with a sole practitioner who's a municipal judge here. I then had the experience of working in downtown Milwaukee at a large firm for a couple of years. That was a different perspective. I came back to West Bend to raise my family in Washington County because that was important to me, and I opened up my office here. I've had a business that's run a litigation firm. We've had as many as 8 employees. We handle a broad base of things, or handled a broad base of things. We represented clients in injury cases, work comp, family law, custody cases, basically just about everything that will go into court when you need a lawyer. That's what we did. I trained several young lawyers that I'm very proud of in those areas. And so that broad base of experience, that knowledge of the community, I think has really helped me on the bench and will continue to help me on the bench in the future.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones, same question.
Sure. The question was my experience in Washington County, correct?
Correct.
Well, first of all, I started off in Washington County as a lawyer. In fact, that's not even true. Actually, I started off as a law student. I was interning at the Matisse Wickert and Lair firm, which is in Hartford, Wisconsin. I worked there for a couple of years doing subrogation and insurance defense. I ultimately left that practice and started another practice with a sitting judge, who's now a sitting judge in Waukesha County, and he and I opened up our practice after that. I've continued to have cases both in Washington County and throughout southeastern Wisconsin. Dodge County, I've handled several cases in, Ozaukee County, because I think at the end of the day, Washington County, although it's clearly a county in and of itself, there's obviously similarities when you're talking about Dodge County, Waukesha County, and all these other counties because they're dealing with the same issues. And so my experience both in Washington County at a criminal level, family level, civil cases. I had a large civil RICO case that emanated originally out of Sheboygan County and then also stretched into Washington County. But at the end of the day, I think that my experience is broad-based throughout southeastern Wisconsin, although it started in Washington County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question 4. Mr. Jones, you will go first this time around. Can you explain your top priorities as a judge if elected?
That's a good question. I think the top priorities as a judge are to do a few things. Number one, I think, and I mentioned this earlier, is you need to make sure that you're not taking precedent or making your rulings based upon some sort of personal agenda, right? And I think that that's a top priority. But I think right now, if we look at the community that we're in, I think there's a significant issue with bail. And as we know this, because there's a constitutional amendment that's going to be on our ballot as well, April 4th, regarding cash bail. And I think what's critical, and I've dealt with every stretch of criminal from an OWI to homicides. In fact, most of my cases are the more severe criminal cases. Those are the cases that I am aware of and know what individuals should have release privileges and which ones shouldn't. Because I have grave concerns about judges letting out people on low cash bail, particularly once they violated bail. And I've never understood when a judge doesn't raise bail when someone violates bail. It never made sense to me. Obviously, as an advocate for my clients, I have to advocate for the lowest bail, which I'm inclined to do. But as a judge, my role would be vastly different, right? Not to advocate for bail, but would be setting the bail. And I can tell you this, if you come into my courtroom and you violated my terms of bail, you're going to add a 0 to that bail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Same question, Judge Hetzel.
Sure. The number one priority being on the bench is keeping the community safe. Number one priority. Number 2, keeping the courts working efficiently and effectively as they are. My experience has been almost entirely in Washington County, and our system here is working. You don't read about the problems that you see in other counties. And when I'm on the campaign trail and I talk to people, people are concerned about, they don't want our system to be more like the county to the south of us. I hear that all the time. We want our community to be different as far as the legal system goes. You don't read about problems that we're having from our judges setting bail in Washington County. You don't hear about those problems because the judges here are doing an excellent job of setting bail. That's why you don't hear about those problems. Attorney Jones's practice is almost entirely in Milwaukee County. Since I've been on the bench for 9 months, I've seen him in my courtroom once. That should be concerning to the voters of this community when I hear that they don't want the Milwaukee practice coming here. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have those issues in Washington County because the judges have done a good job of setting bail. We use the tools that we have afforded to us to protect the community. While we are not by any means guarantors of the safety, when we set bail and somebody posts cash, we can't promise what they're going to do when they get out, but we do the best we can, and we've done a good job of keeping this community safe. That is my number one priority. That's what I'm going to continue to do.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we will start again with you, Judge Hetzel. It's a little bit longer one, so bear with me. Washington County courts have general jurisdiction and judges handle cases in all practice areas. Can you please describe how you would handle a case in an area of the law where you may not have personal experience?
Absolutely. I'm very fortunate in that I have that broad base of background that almost the majority of things that I see are areas of the law that I've at least practiced in a little bit. So that's helpful. But we don't know everything. There's 6,000 pages of statutes. There's hundreds of volumes of case law. So when a case comes in I'm a little unfamiliar with, for example, probate. If that case comes in or a guardianship comes in, then what we do is we rely upon the experts that we have and the resources that we have that are available. We have a fantastic registrar in probate. We have a fantastic clerk of court with real world experience who can advise us on the issues that are coming before us. If we still don't know, we talk to other judges. We can pick up the phone and call somebody that has that background. And once you develop those relationships, you can get answers to questions that you may not have, because you're absolutely right. Being general jurisdiction, you can't know everything, but it's important to, when you need to know something, that you don't, and be able to find those resources, pick up the phone and make that call. That's what I've done.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones, I can repeat the question if you like. I know it was a longer one.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Washington County courts have general jurisdiction. Judges handle cases in all practice areas. Can you please describe how you would handle a case in an area of the law where you may not have personal experience?
Sure. Well, first of all, there would clearly be some areas I might not have specific experience in. I've done some probate, but I would certainly say it's not an expertise for me, much like my opponent mentioned. But I think here's the interesting thing is, when you're a judge or a practicing lawyer, you do the same thing. A case walks in the door of my office and I don't know what I'm doing necessarily in that particular area. I'm going to research it. I'm going to reach out to my colleagues. You know, I'm endorsed by over 35 judges. I'm endorsed by Supreme Court justices. I'm endorsed by former Supreme Court justices, all of which I can pick up the phone and talk to, and a broad network of lawyers. And I think what's nice is those endorsements stretch outside of Washington County, which allows me to ensure that I have a broad base. For example, I know that Lindsay Grady is the former, Judge Grady is the former probate commissioner in Milwaukee. I can call her on a probate case. That would be a good example. But at the end of the day, no judge is going to know everything. You know, and I think it'd be arrogant to think anyone would think that. But I do believe that if you have a network of attorneys that you've worked with, or in this case, a network of judges who I have, you can reach out. And quite frankly, we can learn on it. The litigants are going to teach us, right? The litigants are the ones asking for the relief. So they're going to have to brief the issue. They are going to be teaching us. And that's when the judge has to make the decision based upon that. You know, so I think that there's you would tap into your network like anything else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. This is a two-part question. Mr. Jones, you'll be first on this one. What factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants? And what do you believe is the primary consideration?
Okay, well, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What factors are considered when granting and setting bail amounts for defendants?
Okay.
And what do you believe is the primary consideration?
Well, you said bail amounts, so I'm presuming you mean cash bail at that point.
Yes,
So-
I think that's what the question was.
Right, because the law right now only allows technically the factor of whether or not the individual is going to return to court. That's what the debate's over with the constitutional amendment. The reality is, and I've been in thousands of bail hearings, the reality is good judges will take that factor, meaning their ability to return to court, and look at someone's criminal record, which I think clearly would play into someone's reason for coming back to court. I would look at whether they return to court in other cases. Obviously, I think that factors in. So the primary factor is their ability to return to court under the law, but that is, again, one of those things where discretion is needed, and that's a broad term. And that broad term allows you to look at things such as their prior record, such as the exposure they're looking at. Obviously, someone would be less inclined to return to court looking at life in prison versus looking at 2 years in prison. That's obviously a valid factor to look at. So under the law, although you're only allowed to look at their ability to return to court or their likeliness to return to court, I think that in reality that becomes a very blended question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Judge Hetzel, same question. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, I understand the question.
Thank you.
The question is a little bit flawed because you start from a perspective of the statute suggests you should issue a signature bond in cases. Chapter 969 covers those bail considerations. Now, whether or not the person will return to court is the primary factor in deciding whether or not a signature bond or cash bail will be issued. It's not the only factor. My opponent's incorrect on that. You can also set cash bail in situations in which there's an issue of witness intimidation or whether the person poses a risk of death or great bodily harm to someone in the community. So there are other factors that can be considered. Now, the statute goes on to cite a whole slew of factors, including prior record, ties to the community, things of that nature for non-cash conditions. So when we set bail, it's not just signature bond or cash. It's no contact with this person. Don't visit that particular business. So we can set other conditions that apply. Now, the amendment that's being proposed, I guess it's a referendum at this point, a non-binding referendum, is for judges to consider the totality of the circumstance when deciding whether or not they're going to set cash bond on an individual or not. Information is certainly power. And I think we've seen some bail decisions in other places that have resulted in, had some bad results. And I, again, fully support judges having enough information to make those determinations. But again, our job to follow the law, our job is to default to signature bond unless those other factors apply, which I just mentioned.
Okay, thank you. We are up to our seventh and final question for the evening. We'll start with you, Judge Hetzel. Why should the citizens of Washington County vote for you?
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, I am from this community. I'm connected to this community. I'll give you 8 reasons, and that's the 8 former judges and current judges that have endorsed me. The majority of the Washington County Bar Association that's endorsed me. There's not a single former judge here or a single former lawyer in Washington County that's endorsed my opponent. I think that speaks volume. But beyond that, my opponent referred to an article in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and he's suggesting that those things are not true, but he admitted to every one of those things. Being a judge comes with the title of honorable. Washington County has to have standards for the judges that appear in their courthouse. A judge shouldn't have criminal convictions. A judge shouldn't dodge $200,000 in taxes. A judge shouldn't have 3 bankruptcies. Those aren't conservative values. I think the citizens of Washington County are going to see through that. I think the citizens of Washington County want a judge who respects the values of this community, who's more representative of this community, who's supported by this community and supports this community. That's a stark contrast, and as stark a contrast as you possibly can have. And that's why I'm asking for your vote on April 4th. It's a stark choice. I think it's the only choice for Washington County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones, same question.
Sure. Well, you should vote for me because I'm a conservative and my client, or strike that, my opponent is a liberal and quite frankly is a liar. And I don't lightly call a sitting judge a liar. But in his literature, he sits here and says, first of all, he says that I'm not telling the truth, but he indicates that I'm not endorsed by the right to life. I am endorsed by right to life. He says I have a criminal conviction. That's not true. Now, the fact of the matter is he cites to an article that has not been vetted, that he just assumes is true. Just referencing something doesn't make it true. It also doesn't get you off the hook. And it's exactly judicial activism like that that I am concerned from Judge Hetzel, and that's why I'm running against him. First of all, he's an Evers appointee. He's donated to Evers' campaigns. He's donated to Lori Kornblum's campaign. He donated to Jeff Davis's campaign. He donated to Evers' campaigns. And now he's lying in his literature because he hasn't done his homework. Now, what a good judge should do when someone presents something is they should vet it, and they haven't vetted it. Rather, what he's going to do is he's going to lie. The right to life endorses me. That's a fact. He's saying in his printed literature that he endorses that it's not true. The rest of it is obfuscation. He's sitting here saying, well, I ran away with $250,000 of tax dollars. That means I made $1 million? I mean, it doesn't make sense, but he doesn't check it out. Rather, what Hetzel is designed to do here is try and smear me like every liberal does. The reality is, he says, I've only been in front of him once in the 9 months he's been on the bench. That's because he has to recuse himself on anything that may come before him because I'm his opponent. There's another example of how he lies, how he tries to steer it. Ask him this question: why did he sign the Walker recall? Why did he donate to those campaigns? He's a liberal. I'm a conservative. Look at my endorsements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've wrapped up the question portion of this forum. We will now move to closing remarks. Mr. Jones, you have 2 minutes. You are first.
Thank you. I suspect that Judge Hetzel is going to try and make more hay with this article. I suspect he's going to try and say that I admitted to these things. At the end of the day, he's doing exactly what liberals do. Rather than dealing with the issues before this community, rather than answering the questions he should answer, why he signed a Walker recall, why he donated to Governor Evers, why he donated to Kornblum, why he donated to Davis, why he donated to Evers. I wonder if he wasn't sitting here as a judge, how much he would have donated to Janet Protasevich. He has not come out and said he's for the constitutional amendment referendum. I am. He hasn't said he's for Dan Kelly. I am. I am representing the conservative values of this community, period. That's why you should vote for me. It's really that simple. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Judge Hetzel, your closing remarks.
Thank you. So in the article by Dan Bice, Jones admitted to being convicted of misdemeanor counts of public intoxication, disorderly conduct, and criminal damage to property.
That's not true.
Jones says that I need to recuse on cases in which he's in front of me. I've never recused on a single case from Attorney Jones. He just hasn't been in front of me. He hasn't been here. With respect to the right to life, I think this is important. Right to Life initially endorsed Russ Jones, and then it was pointed out that he was advertising on his webpage that we fight for clients involving cases including criminal abortion. When that was pointed out to Right to Life, several people received a letter or an email from Gracie Skogman saying, "Thank you for reaching out to Wisconsin Right to Life regarding concerns over Russell Jones's candidacy. Please note that Wisconsin Right to Life has not made a public endorsement of Mr. Jones, and all mentions of Wisconsin Right to Life have been removed from Mr. Jones' campaign website and social media." Those are on my Facebook page, hetzelforjudge.com. You can go take a look at them. So as Attorney Jones is making these comments, they're simply not true. The fact of the matter is, he does have those convictions. He didn't pay those taxes. He's not denying them. He's just saying that this article wasn't properly vetted. But read the article. It's really good reading. Washington County needs standards. Jones applied for this position as well. He listed as his primary reference on that Rebecca Dallett, who's one of the more liberal Supreme Court justices. He also endorsed Ed Falone. He also endorsed Gil Urfer, who ran against Rebecca Bradley. So he's not even being honest about that. On his application to Governor Evers for this position, he said he'd never been sanctioned by a court. He admitted to being sanctioned for filing a frivolous lawsuit in Nozaki County as well. Please do your homework, do your research. It's all out there. There's only one choice.
This concludes the Washington County Circuit Court Judge Forum. I would like to thank the candidates for being here tonight and wish them well in the coming election. Thank you all for being here. Okay. Good evening and welcome back to tonight's forum. I'm your moderator tonight, Kirk Emmerich. I'm Executive Vice President and CFO of Westbury Bank. Recently completed a long tenure on the Chamber Board and happy to come back and help the Chamber out tonight. Just as a reminder, the format of tonight's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to make a 2-minute opening statement. They will then be asked questions on topics of general voter interest. The candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. The participants will respond in alternating order for each question. Our forum will conclude with the candidates giving a 2-minute closing statement. And please remember, this is not a debate. The Chamber's goal is to provide a professional, courteous, unbiased environment for the candidates to share their views with the voters of West Bend. We ask the candidates to please respect the time constraints and yield the floor when directed to do so. We will now begin our forum for the Common Council District 2. The candidates for District 4, 6, and 8 are running unopposed, so they will not be joining us tonight. We do have 2 candidates vying to represent District 2, and now welcome them. First is our incumbent, Mark Allen, and second is Sonia Hanrahan. Welcome tonight. We will start with opening remarks presented in alphabetical order. So, Mark, you will go first.
Good evening. I'd like to first thank the West Bend Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this candidate forum, and also the City of West Bend for providing the fine facilities for this. I am the current District 2 Alderman incumbent. This is my third term that I am seeking, third 2-year term. I'm a 12-year U.S. veteran. I have lived in District 2 at the same basic corner for over 24 years, be 25 this year. I lived there with my wife. We relocated from Alabama to Wisconsin, looked around and decided Washington County and specifically West Bend was where we wanted to live. Had my daughter completed high school here. So it's been home for nearly a quarter of a century. I have 4 priorities, and that's public safety, roads and infrastructure, fiscal responsibility, and quality of life. Those are the 4 things that the council needs to do. I'd like to ask for your support and your vote come April 4th. And early voting starts on March 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia.
My name's Sonia Hanrahan. I've been a resident of West Bend for about 10 years. My husband, Sean, is a small business owner, and I work for a wine and spirits distributor. My daughter, Alexandria, she's a sophomore at West Bend East, and my son, Jacob, you may have seen him as you came in. He's in the hall. He's a 5th grader at Silverbrook. I'm running for council because I think West Bend is a great place to live, and I want to continue to serve my community. The things I think are most important to our community are safety, education, becoming a social and cultural destination, and having a competitive job market. We have the resources to make West Bend an even better place to live. With the right guidance and leadership, West Bend will continue to thrive. I think through my volunteering, my children's numerous activities that I'm involved in, having worked with numerous small business owners within our community, I'm very aware of both the challenges and the successes of West Bend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now start into the question portion of the evening. First question, excuse me, Mark, we will have you go first. This is a little long, so bear with me. The historic downtown Main Street, which is part of District 2, is about to go through a much anticipated street reconstruction. Do you have a plan to keep your constituency informed and up to date with the progress of the project?
Yes, I am currently a member of the bid board. I am the chairman of the bid marketing committee and the bid facade grant committee. I'm also a member of the bid transportation group. Transportation group has worked on issues around the design of the new Main Street. And we've also been looking at plans to keep stores open. In other words, we are working on an ongoing basis to make sure that small business owners and residents of downtown can continue to enjoy the quality of life that they associated with living in a historic downtown district such as West Bend has. And as far as informing the constituents, the city of West Bend has a excellent website as well as a social media presence that will provide real-time updates on what's happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sonia, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. The historic downtown Main Street, which is part of District 2, is about to go through a much anticipated street reconstruction. Do you have a plan to keep your constituency informed and up to date with the progress on the project?
So first off, I remember when this was first proposed, I was actually calling on the Norbert, and Tony Cable was so excited and showed me the plans for the renovation. And my first thought was, I asked him, Tony, how are we going to make this work? And he said, you know what, Sonia, it's going to be a challenge. But I think that when all is said and done, it's going to be incredible. So he and I, we've had a good working relationship for the last 8 years, and we kind of shared some ideas. And at the end of the day, I really think that there needs to be some sort of access for these small businesses. I was at another place, the esthetician, and I was getting my eyebrows waxed, and she was saying, you know, Sonia, I don't know what's going to happen when I don't have a stoop for people to come to my business. What's going to happen over those months? Because I'm not certain what the project timeline is. I'm sure Mr. Allen would be well more aware of that than I am. But I think, like he had mentioned, we need to communicate to our constituents as well as our small business owners, because they have had numerous hurdles within the last several years. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I'm a hopeless optimist. I think it's going to be an incredible asset to our community. I live 2 blocks away from downtown. I'm on 8th Avenue. So, you know, my kids ride their bikes up and down that street. So just the cobblestones and all of that, it's lovely to look at, but not very practical. So again, I think just utilizing our social media, Facebook pages, and just putting up signage as simple as that, I think is really going to impact and help with our constituents.
Okay, thank you. Second question, Sonia, you'll be first on this one. What do you think is the most pressing problem facing the city? What can the Common Council do to address that particular problem?
I think if we've been at enough meetings, people are going to say roads. And while yes, roads I think are quite an issue. I remember going through the 8th Avenue rehab, and it got worse before it got better. I really think that just public safety in general is even more important. I think that we need to make sure that our police force as well as fire department have the adequate number of employees, and that we are maintaining that, because without public safety, a lot of other things, we can have a beautiful downtown, we can have brand new roads, but if our community is not safe, I think those things are irrelevant. So truly, I think public safety is the most important thing.
Thank you. Mark, same question. Happy to repeat if you would like.
No, I'm fine. I'd say the most pressing problem is public safety, followed by roads and infrastructure. But with respect to public safety, we have another number of challenges that we're in the process of working through and meeting. One is within the fire department, having adequate staffing to maintain our current and hopefully at some point better ratings. We have already approved, the council has approved adding 9 additional firefighters. We're in the process of bringing them on board now. We, within the police department, have added an additional file clerk. They do, with the addition of body cameras, which came in almost 2 years ago. We needed to have the staff to review those and go through and remove portions that didn't meet legal criteria for disclosure under open records. And then we also within the fire department have some facilities issues that need to be addressed. We have an aging fire station 1. We have fire station 2 and 3 that need additional work done on them to allow for mixed gender birthing. And and the other issue is central dispatch. We need to maintain our own dispatch. There's a move to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, next question. Mark, we'll have you first on this one. If elected, what will be your top priorities?
My top priorities are public safety, roads and infrastructure, fiscal responsibility, and quality of life. I mean, we have a mission and vision that we work to come together for the city. Where do we see things go? And so that mission and vision statement, they are a lens through which we can filter the priorities. And so it's important to choose the right things to do. And by using the mission statement and the vision, we're able to prioritize things. So that would be, I think, how I would approach it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sonia, same question.
So if I'm elected, my top priorities would be facilitating the revamp of downtown. I think that we have so many unique businesses, and that truly is the highlight of West Bend. I think when a lot of people think about West Bend, they look at that historic downtown. I remember as a little girl, I would go to Candyman with my aunt, and when I moved to West Bend, that was one of the first places I brought my children. So just that iconic downtown is something that I think is one of my priorities, and just making sure that it's done right without businesses suffering any more than necessary. Because like I said, I think they're already going to be impacted, and how can we alleviate some of that stress? Public safety is another thing. I know that council did approve 9 more firefighters, and when that was approved, it did not meet quite what the recommendation was. And as time goes on, I think that study was from 2018. So we just need to stay ahead of everything to make sure that the infrastructure for our public safety is adequate. And then I believe those are my 2 priorities.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Sonia, we'll have you go first on this one. What motivates you to want to serve on the Common Council?
So first and foremost, I'm a wife and a mom. So I want to be a good example to my children. I am the type of person that if I can do it differently, or if I have a complaint, how dare I say anything without taking action? So as a mom, I think it's me being a good example to my children, as well as making sure that they have the best possible place to live. We moved back to Wisconsin. My husband and I are both Wisconsin natives from Florida. There's a reason we came back to the Midwest, and there's a reason that we settled in a small town. I just want to make sure that the environment for my kids is safe and they can thrive and grow, and like I said, to be a good example.
Yeah, thank you. Mark, same question.
Yeah, I probably come at this a little differently. I started my working career in the military. For 12 and a half years, I served the country. Since then, I entered corporate life, for lack of a better overarching term. Worked for a number of employers, have on and off as permitted by the jobs that I had. I've worked within my communities to the extent that I can. I decided it was time to give back. I'll be retiring soon, I hope. So I felt that it was just a good way to give back for all that this country and this community has done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are up to our fifth and final question. Mark, we'll have you go first on this one. Short and simple. Why are you the best person for this job?
I've been doing the job for the last 4 years. During that time, I managed to amass a perfect attendance record at all of my committee assignments, all of my council meetings. Woody Allen once said, success is about showing up, and I thought that was pretty important. I prepare for meetings. I've been, people have asked, well, it seems like the council, they get through things pretty quick. You know, you don't seem to spend a lot of time. In high school and junior high and elementary school, they always told us, do your homework. It'll serve you well. Well, on the council, we do our homework. We are prepared. I think that's that, and the fact that I'm invested in this community. I've been here for almost 25 years, and I really want to see this community do well. I want this to be a place that I'd be proud to show off to anybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Sonia, why are you the best person for this job?
I think I hold an excitement and passion for my community. I have an enthusiasm which sometimes can be a little bit obnoxious. I volunteer in numerous facets throughout the community, so I think that gives me a unique perspective on various needs, not just of my district, but of West Bend as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Short and sweet. We appreciate that. This then leads us up to closing remarks. And we will start with Sonia.
So first, I want to thank the council, the chamber, for hosting this forum. I'd like to urge everyone to vote for the upcoming election. There are a lot of important things on the ballot. I hope that I earn the votes for District 2, but most importantly, I think that we all need to exercise our responsibility and right to vote. I truly think with the enthusiasm and passion I have for the city, I would be a great asset to the council. The downtown district is really the pulse of our great city, and as it grows and develops, I want to ensure the needs of its residents are considered and met. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, you've got the last word tonight.
Yeah, I just want to run over a few things. First, again, thank you to the audience for taking the time to come. I'd like to thank all the viewers at home. I'm sure there are millions. It's probably, Super Bowl numbers. Thank you for taking the time to watch us. And if you're watching on a replay, you can hit the pause button and go grab a beer. The council. The council is what drives the city. In other words, there are lots of things we do that have real impact. Adding additional firefighters. We set up TIF districts to encourage development. Some of these are flourishing. We just added our second business in the industrial park. Everybody says, "Oh, it's great. They're going to build a building. Isn't that wonderful?" No. What's wonderful is they're going to build a building, but they're building a vision. Kettle Marine Metal Products is putting their new building there, but their mission is to hire and train young people to be the workforce of tomorrow. We have an opportunity to convince people that there are other ways to fund cities and municipalities, cities and villages and towns. With the referendum, I encourage everybody to vote in support of the referendum. I encourage everybody to vote. It's easy. You can vote absentee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This does conclude our Common Council District 2 forum. I'd like to thank our candidates Mark Allen and Sonia Hanrahan for participating in the forum, and we wish you well in the upcoming election. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now take a couple minutes to prepare the dais for the school board forum. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. We are now to the school board segment of the forum tonight. There are 6 candidates running for 3 seats on the board. Tonight, 5 of those 6 candidates are here with us. The 6th candidate, Kelly Lang, is unable to attend due to an unavoidable work commitment out of state. As in past forums, we have allowed this candidate to submit a 2-minute video of introduction, but she will not participate in the remainder of the forum. Just want to remind everyone again that this forum is not a debate. The candidates have not received the questions in advance, and we ask the candidates to please respect the time constraints and yield the floor when directed to do so. We will now welcome the candidates for the West Bend School District School Board vying for the 3 board seats. First is June Kruger. Second is Kelly Lang, again with a video introduction. Third is Lori Schlemer-Allivan. Fourth is Bill Schultz. Fifth, Nick Stewart. And sixth, Chad Tamez, MD. Opening remarks will be presented in alphabetical order. Kelly Lang's video introduction will be included in the alphabetical order of presentation. With that, we will start with June.
Thank you. My name is June Kruger, and I have moved to the district about 24 years ago. My husband and I were married, raised a family, 2 children, and I have a high schooler, class of 2023, and an 8th grader at Badger. And we have had a very positive experience as my girls have elevated through the grades at every school. One of the things I'd like to see addressed in this position is the aging facilities. We do want to take a look at the buildings, their current state, implement some tactical improvements and some strategic thought around the buildings in general, which ones have a useful life that's over. Another thing I'd like to see is promoting the district in a positive way and trying to attract families. We have some wonderful things happening in the district with arts, music, sports, and clubs, as well as academics. And I'm looking for a way to include the community in connecting the community to the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, we will play Kelly Lang's video.
Hi, I'm Kelly Lang, and I'm running for the West Bend School Board. I'm sorry I can't be there tonight, but I'm the Director of Sales for the largest trade show in the Western Hemisphere, attended by more than 130,000 people and nearly 3 million square feet of exhibit space. It is only held every 3 years, so it's critical for me to be there. Why am I running for school board? The easy answer is I want the best for my kids, my friends' kids, my neighbors' children. You get the idea. I'm very involved in my children's schools, serving on both PTOs and a building leadership team. I am in this for our schools, and my experience inside those walls should speak volumes. I'm qualified for this position because my professional career consists of managing more than 24 boards of directors while overseeing multi-million-dollar budgets. I can approach any obstacle with level-headedness and bring multiple solutions to the table. I have the ability to work with any and all personalities. I'm not afraid of hard work or having difficult conversations. I'm able to make critical decisions for myself. I live in this city, and I want to see this district run fiscally responsible while still having top-notch resources for our children. If elected, I'm not going in with big ideas to change things immediately. I want to hear why things are done the way they are and see what can be improved or kept. I will make sure people are privy to the facts rather than the rumor mill social media causes. I will continue to educate our community on what a great school district West Bend is, and hopefully be part of the change to make families want to move here or keep their children here rather than school choice elsewhere. I will be present just as I always have been, and involved, again, just as I have been for many years. Thank you so much for listening tonight and being here and taking the time. Our school district is counting on you to make the best choice possible to continue moving our school district forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Next in line will be Lori.
Hello, and thank you for having us. My name is Lori Schlemer-Alderman, and I'm running for a seat on the West Bend School Board for the spring election. I am a graduate of West Bend East High School, class of 1987. I have grown up in this community, attending Green Tree for kindergarten, Silver Maple for 1st and 2nd grade, Jackson for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and Badger for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I am a nurse in the community, and I have been for 21 years. I work as a nursing supervisor at the hospital, and I also, in some of my free time, work as a hospice nurse. My husband, Mike, is an engineer and a Marine veteran. We have 2 amazing daughters in the West Bend School District, one at Badger and one at Silverbrook. I decided to run for school board due to the need for increased support for parents, guardians, our kids, our teachers, and this community. The people need to be able to ask pressing questions and get those questions answered fully. I also want to focus on our academic performance scores and improve them where we can. We need to provide the learning our kids need and to help them get to reach higher goals than what is established now. I would also want to look into increasing curriculum transparency of what our kids are being taught. And finally, I want to help make sure our district stays financially responsible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Bill, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me tonight. My name is Bill Schultz, obviously running for West Bend School Board. A little bit about me. I'm a 2nd generation truck driver. I've one student in the district and one child, I should say. He's 10-year-old, attends Silverbrook, and a 4-year-old that'll be shortly attending a 4K program in the fall. As I had said, I'm a 2nd generation truck driver. Something that qualifies me to be on the board is a hard worker. You need people that are going to work hard. And speaking of that, when I clocked out today at work, I had just over 50 hours, and it's only Wednesday. So quality traits that you need to have on the board are hardworking people that can communicate. As previous candidate quoted, success is about showing up. Speaking of that, I've been showing up to school board meetings for a little over a year and a half now. I've missed just I don't know, 3, 4 maybe. Not everybody up here can say that. Not going to single anybody out, but I've been there. I understand the great things that happen in these school districts, to which I also understand the things that we need to improve on. As one of the candidates mentioned, facilities is a big issue. The budget is a big issue. School safety is a big issue. Academic performance is another issue. And as you'll find out tonight, I will touch on all these topics. Thank you again for inviting me. Pleased to be here.
Thank you, Bill. Nick?
Hi, thanks to the Common Council for hosting this annual event and for having the candidates here to speak to our fellow constituents, so then that we can present our ideas and you can decide who's the right candidate to vote for. I'm running for school board because I love this community. My wife and I moved here 4 years ago from Wauwatosa, Milwaukee area. And when we were deciding where to move our family, there were 2 big factors involved. One, we needed a school district with a good public school. Our daughter has to attend public schools. And we also wanted to move to a community where the majority of the people really generally want to make those tough decisions on their own and not have big government make it for them. And that's what we've moved to here in West Bend area. Is people have been very welcoming. But unfortunately, what we've seen is the stuff that we moved away from in West Bend, Milwaukee area school districts is coming out here, mainly in the middle school and high schools. And I planted my flag here, and if elected, I will not allow that to happen. I really think there's a lot of things we need to focus on. One I'm just going to touch on quickly is the budget. I think it's very hypocritical for us to teach our kids in schools how to basically manage money and finances, and we have a multi-million-dollar shortfall, mainly because of a lax school board voting 7-0 up until most recently last year. I also want to focus on the fact that if we don't balance our budget and keep taking these federal funds, the federal government then will be in charge of making the decisions for our kids instead of us in this school district. And I don't want that one-size-fits-all approach for our kids. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Lastly, Chad.
Thank you for having us up here. So my name is Chad Temez. I'm first and foremost married to my wife, Marcia, for 25 years now. We have 2 daughters. Sophia is at UW La Crosse. She went here to West. My girls are 3rd generation Spartans. And my other daughter, Gianna, is currently sophomore at West. I was born here in West Bend, raised here in West Bend, lived here my whole life other than attending college. I've attended Fair Park, McLean, Badger, and West. I went on to school at Cedar Rapids, Iowa Coe College. I received a bachelor's degree in biology, English, and general science. I then received my medical degree from the Medical College of Wisconsin. I've practiced my entire career here in West Bend, which was my intent prior to leaving for college, was to come back and practice here, which I did until about 5 years ago, where I left the local clinic here and opened up my own private practice here in town, West Bend Medical, where I'm co-owner with 2 of my partners. I just opened a new business here in town with my partner, Zach, Wappy Bricks, which is a Lego resale store. I'm part owner in other businesses here in the West Bend and Jackson area as well, active in community fundraisers and events. I've served on the Boys and Girls Club Board, Family Promise Board, Washington County Department of Health. I'd like to use all of those tools and skills that I've acquired in communication and business knowledge to help bridge the gaps between parents and students and staff. And I would like to make sure to advocate for the best use of our tax dollars. And I would like to bring a nonpartisan, non-biased, and intelligent decision-making approach to the board. No political agenda, no political baggage, and this will allow me to advocate for all members of our community. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the introductions, all the candidates. We'll get into our questions now. There will be 8 altogether. First question, we'll start with June. What do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district?
I think we have some opportunities to improve security. If there aren't secure entrances in all the buildings, I think we need to address that first. We have opportunities to right-size the district in that we need to look at how all of our buildings are being used. Are they operating efficiently? Is a new Jackson going to be in play? But I think I could bring my skills to the table to be a decision maker for the community because of some of the challenges that we face are that some people on the board are maybe looking for like a win-lose situation. I think I'm going to bring a win-win mentality to the board and be an active listener to people in the community. So we have some challenges with the schools, with the buildings, which directly impact the budget. But I think we have some opportunities to actively listen in the community and address concerns there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lori, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district?
I see opportunities as possibly a new school in Jackson, but we need to make sure that we do that in a cost-effective, fiscally responsible way. Our challenges in this district are kids and staff safety. We need to figure out why our enrollment is decreasing. And I just would like to kind of address those things. There's been lots of talk about bullying and drugs and things like that in the schools, and I think that really just needs to be addressed and nailed down. And then the decreasing enrollment, we just need to figure out how to get families to move back to West Bend or choose to move to West Bend for our school district or our school education system. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Bill, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district?
As far as opportunities, I'm going to go a little bit different direction than some people might think. I think if we can continue to fund our tech ed program, especially at the high school, I definitely think that we could have one of the best tech ed programs in this county, and that is something that people that attend that send their kids to public school in West Bend, that's something to be proud of. To have the best of in something, whether it's the city, the county, the state, that is people wear that as a badge of honor. So I'd really like to continue funding and try to, I don't want to say increase funding, but at least keep it the funding measures where we're at with the tech ed. To echo what some of the previous candidates have said about school safety, I definitely think that's one big opportunity. As a candidate, people kind of take pride in reaching out to you, and a fair amount of people have spoken to me about how there are safety issues in our schools, and I have brought up and proposed safety amendments at the last annual meeting that got voted down more so because of who presented them, in my own opinion, than what they were. So I definitely think that we need to increase school safety by installing video detection services at every single entrance. Doesn't matter where it is. We need to fund We need to purchase safety cameras and put them on the inside and the outside of the school. And when I say inside, I do not mean in the classrooms. Administration has already said and told me that if they had more security cameras inside the school, they would have been able to get in front of some pretty big issues that have happened. Like I said, continue funding tech ed, and we have a huge opportunity to increase our school safety measures. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Nick, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district?
I think everyone's going to say school safety. It's a hot topic, so of course I'm going to say it too. You know, I got an interview with the high school newspaper a few weeks ago, and after the interview at a coffee shop, I had a chance to kind of talk with a few of the students. And when I talked about my school safety, being a former combat Marine, being a former firefighter that did building inspections to ensure buildings are up to code, I said, you know, is there just basic stuff like when you do drills and stuff like that, do the locks work on the doors? And they laughed. They said, no, there's times where we do drills and we say, hey, the lock on this door doesn't work. I mean, these are just basic things where my observation and transparency days, which would be more of a policy thing, but those are when I would go into schools multiple times a year and just check these things out. And I have the background to look and see the things that are failing within our schools, whether it be the locks on the doors, whether it be Jackson Elementary falling apart, whether maybe being security cameras in the hallways at the entrances and that sort of thing, where we can head off some of these disturbances and fights that happened in the high school this year, or last year. That's one. And I think also making sure that we have a curriculum-based objective to truth, actual facts, actual logic. Teach our kids to critically think. Teach them how to think, not what to think. And respectful to all stakeholders by always being honest and transparent with the district, not hiding things. When new curriculum comes out, don't put it at the library during working hours during the weekday. Put it online for everyone to see. And I don't want to hear the excuse of, hey, you know, that would go against privacy rights. No, privacy rights don't trump our freedoms and our ability to protect our school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And Chad, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in the district?
Well, I'm an optimist, so I'm going to start with the challenges first. I think some of our challenges is definitely budget, but when I say that, I mean annual budget, and that's secondary to a lot of constraints that are outside of immediate board decision and school decision. So we have to continue to work on those and find ways to make sure that we can continue to meet budgets. I think that debt, however, is actually excellent. I don't know that we've seen a better current situation with the debt being paid off for the last referendum. Facilities, definitely a challenge. Right-sizing facilities, which goes along with declining enrollment, making sure that we have appropriate facilities and that we can represent all areas of our community, including Jackson. Making sure that that's not discounted. I think some of our opportunities would be to leverage the excellent staff and superintendent that we have here who care deeply about these kids, about this district, and to continue to use, to utilize them to help keep moving our kids and our schools forward. I think another opportunity is that this is ultimately a very deeply rooted community. People care about this community. They have loyalty to this district, to this community. Many people who are now the taxpayers here went to school here. And so it matters to them. And I think that that's an opportunity for us to use as a method of gaining support and moving the district forward in a positive manner and reestablishing an excellent reputation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to our second question, and Lori, we will start with you on this one. What is the most critical issue facing the school board, and how are you the most qualified to tackle that issue?
I feel that the most critical issue facing this school board is the curriculum transparency. Like Nick has touched on before, I truly believe that what we're teaching our children in the classroom needs to be able to be reviewed by the parents, guardians, taxpayers, before it actually gets put into action. I know that there are a lot of ways to get that curriculum out there to be checked by members of the community. I would also like to have that transparency flow into not only what the kids are seeing, the books that they're seeing, I would also like that transparency to be on the teacher part, the teacher manuals. Why can't we see what the teachers are actually supposed to be teaching these kids? And that's where a lot of the, I feel the discrepancies are coming from parents that are complaining that they don't know what's going on in the schools. So I really think that the curriculum transparency is one of our biggest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill, what is the most critical issue facing the school board, and how are you the most qualified to tackle the issue?
Since we are talking about, issues and problems and concerns, it really is hard to nail down what the biggest problem is. I see a couple of things that are concerning. The budget. There was projections to be roughly, and this is not set in stone. I may have to clarify my words like that because people in the community have liked to twist what I say and think, oh, well, you said this. No, that's not what I actually said. So roughly an $8 million shortfall, maybe more, maybe less. So. Personally, my wife, who's sitting in the audience, can attest to this. At home, I run our budget. Now, I run a very strict budget, not saying we live, paycheck to paycheck. We're very blessed in that aspect, but I follow guidance from a guy named Dave Ramsey. He's based out of Tennessee. He kind of follows the philosophy of not having debt and having money. When you have money, you have choices. Not going to say power, but you have choices. I understand that school districts' budgets are probably not aligned to follow that sort of guidance. But again, being the budget guy at my household, I do bring a lot of good budgetary knowledge to the table. And if elected, that's just one of my many things, what's the old saying, master of none, jack of all, I think. That's the kind of guy that I am. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Nick, what is the most critical issue facing the school board, and how are you the most qualified to tackle the issue?
Yeah, it's a hard one to say which one's most critical. I've touched on budget, I've touched on curriculum, our budget shortfall, transparency, accountability, and I know I'm naming off more than one, but I'll answer the question more of why do I feel I'm the most qualified. I believe I'm the only candidate up here that I guess would be considered a transplant. I've been here for 4 years. I didn't go to school here. I didn't grow up here. I moved here. I moved to a community that I thought had the same, ideals and people that wanted to raise a family similar to what I do. And that is what I found here. And for a company, when a company is going bad, what do? They hire a consulting firm. They hire a person or a group of people from the outside to come in and take a look. So I'm that outside person that's been all over the world, that's lived all over this country, that has a very diverse resume. I'm those outside eyes that is now in this district, that loves living here, that's raising my child here and my family here. And I'm bringing those outside eyes to be able to look at all the real issues that are going on here. without having all of those really strong attachments that might divert my perspective, where I'm looking at things more emotionally instead of logically. Those outside eyes is those logical eyes that is going to bring some change to this district and the multiple things that I had discussed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chad, what is the most critical issue facing the school board, and how are you the most qualified to tackle that issue?
I think the most critical issue that we're going to see over this next 3-year term is facilities and budget. I'm the managing partner for my medical holding group. I served on the finance and comp committees for Freighter for 6+ years while I was there. I just finished building a clinic 3 years ago here in town. So I'm familiar with the building process. I'm familiar with the communications that are needed to facilitate and to achieve these things, but also it's about garnering the support, because unlike those other endeavors and the other businesses that I'm part owner of, I am not going to be the one solely paying for or in charge of this. And so it's the need to communicate to the community in a clear and transparent and effective manner why the use of their tax dollars should be going where it's going, or why we've decided to not put it where they think it should be going. Because not everyone will be happy with where it goes. But I want to assure everyone that my plan is no matter what happens, to steward your tax dollars as best as possible, because I pay taxes to this community as well in multiple different entities. So any tax dollar of yours I spend, I'm definitely spending mine as well on multiple fronts. And that matters. I take that seriously. So budget, facilities, I think those are issues that we really want someone up here who has a lot of experience with that at a professional level to manage those issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lastly on this question, June, what is the most critical issue facing the school board, and how are you the most qualified to tackle that issue?
Thank you. I think one of the critical issues that we need to address is great teachers leaving our district. I think our teachers are exhausted. I think they have such a caring heart, and they love their students, and they're asked to do things a little bit above and beyond what they need to be doing. I think why I think I'm the most qualified to address it is going to be that I take a stance of trusting the teachers and treating them as the professionals that they are. We put a lot of money into professional development for these teachers. They work long, hard hours, and I don't know better than they are. My career is in IT. I haven't done hours and hours of training on how to handle an upset student or handle and work through an IEP. And so I need to know that I can trust them to handle the situation in the way they were trained to handle it. And over years of experience, they have more experience in that field than I do, and I appreciate that. And then just caring for our teachers, respecting them, cheering them on, sending a note of appreciation once in a while. Like, it's not that hard, and they so appreciate it. At Badger Middle School PTO, we last year was our first ever Teacher Appreciation Week that we put together, and the cards of recognition and appreciation coming back was phenomenal. We're in the process of planning this year, so I hope it goes as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our third question, and we'll start this round with Bill. Please describe your understanding of the school board and administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, or workforce training.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Please describe your understanding of the school board and administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, and or workforce training.
It's a very good question. Through my time of attending school board meetings, I've I've been able to hear about all the great programs that we have, like I mentioned earlier in tech ed, job fair, career days, college days. So it's my assumption and my belief that obviously, the administration and the school board supports students and whether they want to go to a four-year college or maybe a two-year college or maybe a technical program or going straight to work out of high school. Personally, that's what I did. I did do 1 year of general studies and just found out that school, the school environment wasn't really for me. I'm more of a hands-on type of person. And that's what led me to get my Class A CDL. So I definitely see, and to speak on that, I know that Superintendent Jen Wimmer is very active in the Crow Camp driving school program. It's a really unique experience. I know she's offered it to me many a times, but schedule hasn't clashed to be able to make that. But obviously, this district wants successful students, and to go out, and whether that is to go to college or go to work. We have plenty of programs, like I'd already mentioned, that do support that. So, thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Nick, please describe your understanding of the school board and the administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, or workforce training.
I think this is obviously something that needs to just be individualized to the student and then the family, the guardians, and what they think and how the student goes along, and how they develop. We all develop differently. We can't have cookie cutter approaches that big government likes to throw onto our district in more ways than none. And we really got to get down to, what does each individual kid's strength and their weaknesses, and what do they decide to do? I would have been probably very irresponsible going straight to college out of high school. That's why I joined the Marine Corps. And 4 years in the Marine Corps, after that, I was ready for college and I was responsible, but if I went straight to college at 18 years old, for me personally, I probably would have, not made the right decisions. But some students at 18, very responsible, they can go straight to college. And I think really addressing that in high school and just seeing what each student really kind of goes towards, whether it be technical college or whether it be, four-year college, military, or just working straight out of high school, maybe trying to get onto a trade that way in the private sector. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. Chad, describe your understanding of the school board and administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, or workforce training.
Well, I think that my current understanding of what they're shooting for is to achieve and prepare for future success of all of our students. I think that's one of the school board's mission statements. And for me, they did that. I'm a product of these schools here, and they prepared me very well for a future career. And for me, it was a professional career, and I went straight to college, and I felt very prepared. In fact, I went into college with a full semester of credits already under my belt because of the opportunities I had here in our school, and that allowed me to get multiple degrees. So they did that. And for my daughter, they did that. She received a scholarship and is successfully attending UW La Crosse. My other daughter is being prepared for college or for something maybe in the fashion field. There's a lot of opportunity, and it doesn't have to look like a four-year degree. It can be tech school. It can be, going right into the workforce. It can be going into the military. There are a lot of different opportunities, and I think that the school board is in support of the mission statement that the school is working towards, which is to prepare all of our students for future success and college preparedness, or future academic preparedness. So I think I would want to continue to further that message.
Okay. Thank you. June, please describe your understanding of the school board and administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, or workforce training.
Sure. My understanding of the current thinking is they do want to prepare all of our students for life after high school. Having a high school senior now, we get emails every 2 weeks about opportunities where they have people coming to the school from Moraine Park, from recruiting for military service. I know they offer youth apprenticeship programs. They offer co-op programs. Our company, my employer, West Bend Mutual Insurance, partners with the school district for the Project Search program, which is for disability students with disabilities to learn job skills. So they'll come on campus at our office, and they will learn how to hold a job, and then they'll do tasks around our building, which is fantastic. There's also a program called Start College Now that my daughter took advantage of, and she took college classes at Moraine Park in the fall semester, and the school district paid for it. So 100%, I know that they are in full support of whatever route that student feels they would like to learn about or explore. They have people there supporting those students and ensuring that they have success in trying new things and taking those routes that they decide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Lori, last chance on this one. Please describe your understanding of the school board and administration's current thinking on preparing high school students for college, technical training, or workforce training.
Upon graduation from high school, I believe we want these kids to be well prepared for continued education, to be able to function in the workforce right out of high school if that's what they choose, to be prepared to join the military or civil service. We want these students proud of their schools. Do they have a boosted sense of pride to attend their school each and every day? Do they strive, or are they encouraged to achieve higher goals than what they themselves have expected of themselves? That's what I think would be best. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question number 4, and we'll start with Nick on this one. Are you in agreement with the current school curriculum, or should there be changes? And if so, what would you change?
I think that curriculum that is coming down from the federal government is a one-size-fits-all approach. And it can be, there's things in there that can be considered, but I really believe the decisions of what type of curriculum, how to teach our students, what to teach our students, needs to be decided mainly locally by all of us. I just don't believe that, there's so much curriculum out there that we can look at, and when we put that curriculum for the people in our district to look at odd times during working hours at the library when people can't view it, that's not being transparent. And it gives people the sense that something's being hidden. And there's no reason why curriculum just can't be put online. And the excuse that it's going to violate privacy or, the rights of that company. Well, the rights of that company doesn't supersede the rights of the people in this district to know what is being taught to our kids. So I want to review all the curriculum on and see where it's coming from. And I want to ensure that it's being taught in a fair, logical way. Critically thinking is big. Teaching kids how to think and not what to think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chad, are you in agreement with the current school curriculum, or should there be changes? And if so, what would you change?
I would say overall I am in agreement with the current school curriculum. I have 2 students that one just recently graduated, one's still in school. I have not had any issues with their experience. I've had a positive experience with my kids. I haven't seen them come home with any glaring mistakes or errors in what they're learning or how they're learning it or how they're being taught it. The only thing that I would maybe like to see more of is more current events being able to be discussed in school and talked about in school, as I think that keeps education exciting and relevant for our students. I think critical thinking is very important, and we want to make sure that they have the ability to critically think and not just recite facts, because that's what's going to make them an actual prepared future student and future community member. So I don't have any issues with our current curriculum as it stands. I don't believe that there's any CRT being taught in our school. So as it stands, my current experience has been positive, and I would be more than happy to address that issue with any parents or stakeholders who feel that their experience has not been that. And I would like to help bridge that gap and find out what those deficiencies are and how we can make their experience positive like mine has been for me and my children.
Okay, thank you. June, are you in agreement with the current school curriculum, or should there be changes? And if so, what would you change?
Thank you. In general, I do agree with the current curriculum. What my kids experienced at the elementary school level was that there was software that could be used in the classroom that would identify different levels of their knowledge in a particular subject, math, reading. And then they would take these assessments with the software, and they may be, 2 levels ahead of the person sitting next to them, but they were still learning at their level, and it allowed them to continue to be challenged, and they would use the software and earn badges, and it was really exciting for them because of all the different levels of levels in a particular classroom. It's difficult to have independent time with all of the students. So I really think my kids enjoyed that, and I think it continued to keep them challenged and not bored. But I did hear from one person online recently about some team tests in the math classes in the middle school. So I would like to maybe explore that a little bit and see about team tests and what the reason for that is. I just don't know. And so that's something that's kind of on my radar. But other than that, overall, the curriculum I think is great.
Okay, thank you. Lori, are you in agreement with the current school curriculum, or should there be changes? And if so, what would you change?
There are some changes that need to be made. Our student performance is not where it should be, and our goals are set too low. Our students' performance is declining as our scores do show. It seems that as our scores decline, our expectations decline also. We always have to re-grid everything. We need to immediately return to honest, accurate instruction in all subject areas, especially the basic core academics, ELA, math, science, social studies. And also, I would change, as I stated before, our curriculum should be fully transparent to the public, especially the parents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Bill, last one on this topic. Are you in agreement with the current school curriculum, or should there be changes? And if so, what would you change?
How I would answer this question is I would like to focus more on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, why do I say that? Last year, I was part of a successful team of the people that stepped up and helped 2 excellent school board members, or candidates at that time, get elected. And throughout this campaign, I have knocked over 1,000 doors already. Okay, and a lot of the conversations I have is about the basics in reading, writing, and arithmetic. I'm going to hold this up. I'm a truck driver. I'm not an artist, so don't judge me too much. At the beginning of the year, my 10-year-old son, who's in 5th grade, displayed work to be shown for a problem to solve the area of a rectangle. The area of a rectangle. A equals L times W, or LXW. That's how I was taught when I was in school. And yet, this is about the space that he filled in to show his work. I think we need to focus on bringing I don't want to say common sense, because what's common to me may not be common sense for all, but I think we need to bring forward, bring forward a curriculum that supports a simpler curriculum. Quite honestly, if I'm going to guess, the amount of space you should need to solve the area of a rectangle is about this much. And I'm probably being generous. So again, I would like to, that was just one example. I do have others, if anybody would like to reach out, but just a simpler way to education to help the students understand it in a more simpler fashion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our fifth question now, and we will start this one with Chad. On February 23rd of this year, it was reported in the Daily News that the district is potentially facing an $8 million shortfall for the 2023-2024 budget. If you are elected, how would you propose to address this potential shortfall?
Thank you. I would need to make sure that I have access and discussions with all of the financial data and the people involved with the budget. I think that the $8 million deficit that was projected is a projection. It's not the final answers. There are still funds that are uncertain. And there are certain restrictions we have with allocations for certain funds. It's not just one bucket of money that gets poured in and then you can distribute it as you see fit, like you might with your personal budget. This would be like as if someone gave you a check for $1,000 and said, here's a check for $1,000, but you can only spend it on these things. So you have to be aware of the restrictions and the constraints that come with the budget. So educating myself first and foremost would be what I would need to do. And I would work with our district's financial experts to go over that, to learn what we need to learn, and then I would get their recommendations. I am not a financial expert. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a tax attorney. I would talk to the people who have those answers and say, how much money do we need? And what are some strategies and ways we can get it? My job as a board member would be to help facilitate those ideas then and say, okay, well, we need to figure out which of those ideas we need to move forward with. So budget shortfalls are difficult to deal with under any circumstance. And I think that the best thing we can do is make sure that we're well educated on the current situation, understand that there's things we aren't experts in, and then move forward working with the district and making those tough decisions.
Okay, thank you. June, on February 23rd of this year, it was reported in the Daily News that the district is potentially facing an $8 million shortfall for the 2023-2024 budget. If elected, how would you propose to address this potential shortfall?
I echo what Chad said because really it's difficult to know what the current situation is. So educating ourselves, working with Andy Sarnow to figure out what we are required to pay, what are optional things that could be cut out, understanding or driving towards the priorities that the district is driving toward, really without knowing more. I guess we'd have to just research and I would attack it like we do our own finances, cut out the things that we don't need, but keep the things that are required and keep the making sure we're addressing the things tactically as well as making sure we're not being like penny wise and pound foolish in the situation. So trying to bring forth options that make the most sense to figure out where we can cut to make that work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, Lori. On February 23rd of this year, it was reported in the Daily News that the district is potentially facing an $8 million shortfall for the 2023-2024 budget. If you are elected, how would you propose to address this potential shortfall?
I believe we really need to look deeply into what is the priorities for the district, not just what we want. We need to plan ahead the best we can for possible unexpected outcomes. We need to make sure that the money being allocated is appropriate to what is most needed in the district. Are we spending the money that we are getting from the state and other areas wisely, or are we spending it frivolously? We also need to keep up on maintenance of our facilities. This needs to be the top of our list so our students are safe, they're warm or cool, they have proper working buildings so they can all be proud to come to school every day and be comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, on February 23rd of this year, it was reported in the Daily News that the district is potentially facing an $8 million shortfall for the 2023-2024 budget. If elected, how would you propose to address this potential shortfall?
Excellent question here. I'm just briefly looking over my notes. By the way, this is one notebook of 3 that I've had of note-taking from attending school board meetings. So, as people have slandered me on social media saying that I'm anti-education and a teacher hater, which is the farthest thing from the truth, we have to be realistic in that in the next 5 years, I have a number, by 2027, 2028, it is projected that our student enrollment is going to decline to 4,761 students. Currently this year, we have 5,969. So rough math, that's about 20%. So to keep it real and honest, we need to look at what buildings are going to stay open and what buildings we're going to close. And again, I support our teachers just as much as any of these other candidates do. But there are going to have to be, teachers that may not be working here anymore. They are our number one expense, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It is just simply a fact. Teachers and benefits are the number one budgetary expense in our budget. And as much as I would love to keep all of our teachers, maybe this new tool that the district just purchased back in January to help right-size the district, perhaps that computer-animated artificial intelligence program can find a way to keep all of our teachers. I would love to see that, but I just don't know how realistic that is. Thank you.
Okay, last word on this one, Nick. On February 23rd of this year, it was reported in the Daily News that the district is potentially facing $8 million shortfall for the 2023-2024 budget. If you are elected, how would you propose to address this potential shortfall?
A school district budget is not the same as our household budget. It's not. First, I would have to sit down with the financial people in the district and go line by line. As an analyst, that is what I do. I look at things, I look at where the issues are. But then moving forward, I think it's very important when we start right-sizing the district, which is what we need to do, I believe that we need to, when we bring, let's say, private companies in to build whatever needs to get built or fix whatever it needs to get fixed, we need to have multiple quotes. We need to see what their quotes are. We just can't be just blanket, oh, this is the company that did it last time, so we're just going to go with them. We really need to look at the school's budget as if it's not the same as a household budget, but we need to act as if it is our household budget, because I think all of us are pretty strict with our household budgets, but we can't be laxed with our school budgets. And over the last 5 years, a lot of 7-0 votes of our school board is a very laxed way that this has happened, and we turn in this multi-million-dollar deficit. And we're hypocrites teaching our kids basic financial and money management, and we can't even balance our own budget. Given this, we need to be sound, fiscally responsible, and respectful stewards, and generous to the taxpayers. We all need to rein in inefficiency, waste spending, implement smart financial practice, such as zero-based budgeting, and right-sizing the district properly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to question number 6, and we'll be back starting with June on this one. Please describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these two offices?
Thank you. The school board is intended to, or the roles of the school board is they have specific things they need to do. They need to be reviewing the policies, they need to be reviewing curriculum, they need to be helping with the strategic vision of the district, and they need to be working with the budget. So those 4 things are, and of course it's a board of 7, so you're one of 7. Your role is to there's going to be things that come up, you review that information, you attend the meetings, you discuss the different things. So, and there's, from what I understand, there's the policies committee, and then there's the curriculum committee. They have separate meetings as well. So really the role is to make sure that we are reviewing those, making updates, and enforcing those curriculum and policy information. Your role, your employee, you have one employee, and that's Jen Wimmer, the superintendent. So, and they work together to work through, to make sure the district is governed in a way that is beneficial for all of the stakeholders in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lori, please describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What's the ideal relationship between those two offices?
The roles of the school board, you are committee members, you are role models, you are a sounding board for parents, guardians, kids possibly, taxpayers, hopefully teachers. You fight for what those people are asking for. You are a good listener. And between the school board and the superintendent, we need to work as a team. We need to challenge each other to look at things different ways, bring up different perspectives. I'm not saying that we all need to agree, but we need to make decisions based on what we think is best for this community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill, please describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent, and what is the ideal relationship between the two offices?
So the roles of the school board are to oversee, the general business and operation of the public schools. That is, quite simply put, that's, they are a governing body to oversee and make decisions, as some of the other candidates have already said, in the community and taxpayers, and especially our students' best interest. I've spoke with Superintendent Jen Wimmer. I've met with her multiple times. She's an incredibly intelligent person. Any question I've asked, it's like she knew what I was going to ask before I actually asked her the question. I definitely see her to be an asset to our school, and like it's been touched on, we need to work together as a team. I've also met with some other members of the community that have a direct role in education, and they have said that the could very well possibly be a reason as to we are facing some of the issues that we are facing. And again, I strongly support Jen Wimmer. She's an excellent person, an excellent superintendent. I feel very comfortable and confident that if any issue or concern or question or comment I have, that I could go to her and I could get a straight to the point, sincere, honest answer. And I would definitely support keeping Jen Wimmer as part of our team if elected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Nick, please describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What's the ideal relationship between those two offices?
The school board members, as the elected members by the people, I believe the school board members are the eyes and ears for the parents or guardians first. You have to take in all stakeholders, which is very important. But, I work in a hospital, and I have to consider a lot of different stakeholders. I have to, as an analyst in our division, I have to consider doctors, I have to consider nurses, security staff, administrative staff, and I have to consider them all kind of the same. But prioritizing as a school board member, it's going to be families first, and then right there is teachers. Because families first, students, and then the teachers, we want them to feel safe in our schools. And, if we have a strong relationship with the superintendent, and I've spoken with Jen Wimmer as well, and everything that I've gone to her for and asked for, she has provided. She's answered all of my questions. I am willing to work with anyone in this district. And if elected, Jen Wimmer currently is the superintendent. I want to try and bridge a gap. But in the end, I am, as an elected school board member, we're the eyes and ears of the parents and the family unit first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Chad, last word on this topic. Please describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What's the ideal relationship between these two offices?
We are a governance and oversight board. So we are here to make sure that the person that we've hired, in this case, Superintendent Wimmer, that she is performing the duties as expected by the board, by the community, by the district. That is our primary function. Now, working as a team with Superintendent Wimmer, that's how we get communication back and forth between, are these goals that we've set as a community being met? And if they're not, how do we address those? I do not feel that as a board member, it's our personal duty to go in and fix all of these issues if we have a concern or a problem or a parent has a problem. I think we should listen to them. I think we should bring their ideas back to the board or their concerns back to the board, discuss it with the people who are in the schools and experts in these areas, and then say, hey, we have some concerns that this is not being met, or this is not, we're not achieving the goals that we're trying to achieve. What are the shortcomings? What are the shortfalls? How do we achieve that? And what is not being done. And if it's something that we can help provide or facilitate, then we should do that. And if it's something that we need to remove or change, then we can do that also. But it's only through active communication with the people who are in the buildings, working with the students and with the staff, and then engaging and communicating effectively back to the parents. Transparency is a huge thing, but communication, we need to build trust. We need to make sure that the community feels they can trust the decisions that are being made and that we're not hiding anything from them. And so we need effective communication and active listening with no political agendas being brought forward.
Okay, thank you. Question number 7. We will start with Lori again on this one. Lori, how will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district? Who do you bring with you to the table? Yes, ma'am. How will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district? And who do you bring with you to the table?
I guess who I bring with me to the table is my experience as a critical thinker, as an advocate. I am able to think through processes. I am a good listener. I have an open mind. And I just think that those are traits that a school board member should have, and that's what I bring. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill, how will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district, and who do you bring with you to the table?
Repeat the first part of the question for me, please.
Sure. How will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district?
Tough question. I think the best way to answer that is to be open, honest, and transparent, regardless of how I feel about a certain topic. If people want to know my opinion on something, I'm all about being honest and transparent. And the people that I bring with me are the people that support me and that vote for me, that I hope to have enough votes to get on the school board. The will of the people. I bring the will of the people as my supporters. And I'm not saying that we have to have, how do I word this here? I'm not saying we got to have eyes and ears in every little nook and cranny, and any little bullying incident needs to be blown out of proportion. But, if these people, the people that support me, feel like there is a lack of transparency, I would encourage them to reach out and let me know about it, because as a school board member, we are advocates for the parents, the community, the stakeholders, the students, and the teachers as well. So if there's ever an issue that a parent or community member, teacher, or anybody feels that needs to get brought to the school board, whether publicly or privately, I would respect that person's opinion and be open, honest, and transparent about it. Thanks for the tough question.
You're welcome. I don't write them, I just read them. Next up will be Nick. Nick, how will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school board? And who do you bring with you to the table?
I think I'll do that by implementing observation transparency days. I agree that we have to let our teachers teach, our administrators discipline, and we don't need to go, as school board members, we don't need to run to the school for every single time that a parent complains about something that's going on. But I've heard of parents complaining and them not getting answers for days, maybe a week. And as a parent, hearing your child come home day after day that they're being bullied and that there's not members reaching out and trying to do something and feel all alone, that's got to be a hard place to be. So observation transparency days is a way where I would like to inform the principal and superintendent, go to at least 5 times to every school in the district throughout the year, and just observe and be transparent. Notify the principal of the school and the superintendent the day prior, show up, I have a list of things that I'm going to check. Could be facilities management, it could be the curriculum, it could be, is bullying going on in the hallways? And if there's a reason why we have 6,000 major office incidents and 90% of those 90% of those are done by 10% of the kids. Those are things that need to be observed within the school, and then be transparent about it with the district. And who I'm going to bring with me is the policies and the rule of law and personal protective laws. And that's what I'm bringing with me, because those are the rules. Those are the rules we all follow. And as school board members, we go through the policies, we make changes, and then we let everyone know what those changes are, because those are the rules. And then we all follow them, and we're all held accountable to those rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Chad, how will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district? And who do you bring with you to the table?
So I would implement the same tools that I do in my everyday practice. When we started the practice, we started with 4 foundations, called them the 4 A's, which is availability, affability, accountability, and ability. And I bring those to the table. I do every day in my practice, and I hold very true to those. And I would do that same thing on the board. You have to be available for people's concerns. You have to be willing to listen to them. You have to be someone that they trust, someone they feel comfortable with, and I think I would bring that. Accountability, again, I'm responsible for many things and many people, including life-saving decisions every day. This is not new for me. And ability, I think I have a lot of important qualities and qualifications that put me as a great candidate for the board. Who would I bring with me? I would bring a great relationship that I've built with this community. I have over 4,000 patients, which gives me a lot of community reach. I have multiple businesses, which gives me, which has allowed me to build wonderful working relationships with the city, with a lot of other influential businesses. I've served on multiple boards with other business owners, which can help provide a positive reach and influence for the district. I think overall, we just need to make sure that we're bringing with us a solid reputation that we can use to make sure community feels that we are a trusted source for them. So I feel like I have a lot to offer and a lot of people to bring with me to this table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last word on this one, June. How will you build consensus and support in the community around the work of the school district? And who do you bring with you to the table?
Thank you. When I think of building consensus, I often think of communication and trust. So right away, I'm going to be focusing on communication and trust. Sharing information, build consensus. Listening to concerns about topics will build consensus. I mean, oftentimes a disagreement can be just lack of information by one person, so talking that out. And being open-minded in a way that you're able to hear what they're saying and not trying to dispute right away. And just hearing what they're saying, listening actively, and that goes both ways. And then for the part about support in the community, support in the community around the school district, I think there's a lot to be said about inviting the community to different events that we have. We have plays, we have sporting events. Why can't we reach out and indicate all is welcome to come to these events? I think that would connect and show that we care about the community, and then they can in turn, support our athletes and our theater students and things like that. Who do I bring with me? I would say I do have some connections at West Bend Mutual. As my employer for 16 years, I really think that they are open to opportunities in lots of capacities to partner with the school. And then other parents who I've served on boards with along the way for PTO at all the schools that my kids have attended. So in those ways, that's how I would answer that question. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our 8th and final question. We will start with you, Bill. And I'll promise you this one's easier than the last one.
Sweet.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ready?
Ready. Born ready.
What skill, experience, and knowledge can you bring to the school district that no other candidate here can?
Hard work, tenacity, grit, great communication skills. Like I said before, I'm a truck driver, and I often get dispatched to places that I have no idea where they are. I pull out my phone and I'll type the address in and it doesn't come up. It just apparently doesn't exist. And I have to effectively communicate with either my boss, my dispatch, or the customer to get there and deliver their goods and services. I'm a hard worker. Like I said, I clocked out today as a Wednesday with either at or just over a little over 50 hours on the work week. And looking at the clock, I got to be up in about 5 hours to go back to work tomorrow. But yet I'm still here. I've sacrificed a lot. That's another thing, sacrifice. I've been going to school board meetings for over a year and a half. I've missed as many as I can count on one hand. I've sacrificed time away from my family, my kids, myself, my work, my friends, for this. I am a tough, gritty person. You have to have tough skin to be a truck driver, and you have to have tough skin to be a school board member. I understand that. I get that. That's why I am the best guy, best person for the job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Nick, what skill, experience, and knowledge can you bring to the school district that no other candidate here can?
Well, I was a Marine, so I'm pretty tough and gritty too. And I also work in mental health and servicing my fellow veterans, my brothers and sisters in arms. I've been doing it for 8 years. As a combat veteran that had to deal with my own demons for the last 8 years, I am facing those every day, and at the same time helping my fellow brothers and sisters in arms regain their lives back, regain their freedoms back, and live out their lives in peace. I do that every day. I am physically and mentally prepared for this position. One thing I bring that the other candidates don't bring, like I said before, my outside eyes. If a company is struggling, what do? They hire a consultant firm. They don't talk to the people within their company because they're short-sighted. They hire an outside source to come in and look at things with outside eyes, logical eyes, not emotional eyes. I've only lived here for 4 years. It's been some of the best 4 years of my life. I love living here. This is my home. But I have outside eyes, logical eyes, non-emotional eyes to really look at the issues in this district. That's what I bring to the table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chad, what skill, experience, and knowledge can you bring to the school district that no other candidate here can?
Well, I think that I would say I bring the most personal experience with all facets of our educational system, from K through 12 here in our district to four-year academics, medical degree, teaching. I teach medical students and residents in our office. So I think that gives me a little bit of a unique perspective in regards to that side of things. My community reach, I think, is probably something that I bring that the other candidates don't, having been involved in multiple aspects of our community on a professional level, as well as just with my patients and my recognizability in that area. My decision-making and critical decision-making ability, I think, is on par with anyone's here or better, having to deal with medical situations every single day, multiple times a day, at a moment's notice. And I think also, work ethic is talked a lot about. I actually have K through 12 perfect attendance, and I've never called in sick to a day of work ever. So I feel like I do bring that as well. So, and then lastly, I think, and maybe some other do bring this as well, but I think my truly nonpartisan approach, I truly want to approach this nonpartisan position with my nonpartisan views, because that's what this position really calls for. And I think that's something that I bring. Thank you.
Thank you. June, what skill, experience, and knowledge can you bring to the school district that no other candidate here can?
All right. So I do have a master's degree in IT management. I haven't heard that said yet, so I think that is unique to me. I have been active at a local church, Our Savior's Lutheran Church, and served on the board there. I have been an active parent through all of the grades that I just mentioned, Jackson Elementary, Silverbrook, Badger, and not the high school, for the parent-teacher organizations. They don't exist there at the high school. And I've served on the boards at all of those levels, or I've served on the PTO boards at each of those schools, in the treasurer capacity, VP capacity, and president. Also, one experience that I haven't heard yet is as each of those PTOs became established, I filed all the paperwork for federal and state paperwork, federal paperwork to become a tax exempt entity so that we could be a 501c3 entity. So that's something I'm proud of, to save them money along the way. I've also served on the West Bend High School Business and IT Advisory Committee for a handful of years. And during the time on that board, we did bring to the school board the request to make the personal finance class required for graduation, so that all high school students would at least be exposed to some of the basic financial information they need instead of it being an elective for them. So those are the things that I, combined skills, experience, and knowledge I would bring.
Okay, thank you. And Lori, what skill, experience, and knowledge can you bring to the school district that no other candidate here can?
I can bring that I'm a very involved parent, and I want my kids and all of our kids to succeed. I am a seasoned nurse with good critical thinking skills and good common sense. I am a great listener. I'm compassionate, but I am not complacent, and I will defend and fight for the standards that I believe that this district needs. I am a good researcher, and I need to be true to details. I will put in the work, I will do the research, and through teamwork, we will get things done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was our final question, so we're going to move on to closing remarks at this point. We will go in reverse order of introductions, so we will start with Chad. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity. So I actually had something written down for this, but I think I just want to be completely genuine in this and just say that I feel I'm a very qualified candidate for school board. I think that's evident. I think everyone up here is passionate about wanting to be on school board. So what the voters have to decide is, who do you want representing you? Who do you want making these decisions? We all care about safety. We all care about academics. We all know that the budget needs to be reviewed critically and taxpayer dollars need to be advocated for. Who do you want to make that decision? Who up here do you feel you can trust the most? Who do you feel up here will communicate most effectively and make the most intelligent and balanced decisions for the school board, for the district? Who's invested? I feel like I meet those qualifications. And certainly that is not meant to grandstand or sound braggadocious in any way. I just feel like I'm a qualified candidate for this board, and I believe in this district. It produced me. I am proud of this district, and I will continue to do whatever I think is the best thing to move this district forward and to continue to improve and really put the shine back on the reputation that I have of this district. I think this is a wonderful district, and I want other people to also have a wonderful opinion of this district. And I'll do whatever I can to do that in the most effective way that I can and bring whatever tools to the table I need to in order to do that. So on April 4th, I would love to have your vote. And you can know that I do not bring any political agenda into this. I truly don't. And I'm here to listen to anyone and everyone, and I will represent all of your ideas as fairly as I possibly can. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Thank you to my wife also.
Thank you, Chad. Nick, your 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with Chad. We're all passionate. We all want safety. You know, we know there's budgetary issues. And I agree this is a nonpartisan position. And I approach things nonpartisan that's just who I've always been. I was raised that way. My parents have voted for Republicans. My parents have voted for Democrats. I was just raised in that type of household. Just respect people's opinions. But even in a nonpartisan position, we can't have our heads in the sand and not see the fact that big government's trying to come in and dictate things to our school district. I believe everyone in the school district knows what's best for our kids better than big government. So even in a nonpartisan position, we have to be proactive and have our eyes open, because there's flawed human beings out there that think they know better than us. And it's not just in school, it's evident everywhere. It's evident at the border. It's evident with Chinese balloons floating over our heads. We can't have our heads in the sand. This is nonpartisan, but we have to be very careful about the entities that are trying to control our district and control the decisions that are made for our kids. I was a Marine. I was a firefighter. I work in mental health. I moved out here 4 years ago and carefully considered where to move. Anywhere in southeastern Wisconsin, my wife and I drew a circle, 45-minute circle around downtown Milwaukee, and we chose to come here. And I love the decision that we made here. So please vote for me on April 4th, and I will be your eyes and ears and be fully transparent with the people in this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Bill, your 2 minutes.
I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and inviting me. To this point, I just want to throw out some facts. As of today, at 7:59, I have knocked on 1,084 doors, and I have had over 650 community conversations. Now, that's also along with having a family, managing a budget at home, as I had said, working over 60 hours almost every single week since, oh boy, I'm a truck driver. That's just what we do. We put in a lot of hours. And the message has been very clear. It was very clear last year when the two new candidates beat out the incumbents, and the same message is just as clear as it was last year. Student and staff safety, back to the basics in learning. And if we get back to the basics in learning, we can increase our academic performance. It's a win-win-win, as the great Michael Scott from The Office said. So I ask for your vote on April 4th, but just remember, you get 3 votes. The people sitting to my left and my right, I ask that you vote for us as the 3 S's in ballot spots 4, 5, and 6. Thanks for your time.
Okay, Lori, your 2 minutes.
Thank you for having us. We do have some work to do in the district and some big issues to look at and to solve and to work through. I want to assure you that I will work hard. I will commit to researching solutions. I will be a supportive member of positive change within this West Bend School District. I will stand strong. I will uphold values for which I campaign for. And I also want to urge you to get out and vote for number 4, 5, and 6 on the ballot on April 4th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lori. And June, your 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you. I want to thank thank you all for having us here tonight. I do want to say, whomever wins those spots on April 4th, there's some serious work ahead of the district. So, and that work should not be taken lightly. What I would bring to the table would be the ability to compromise, look for win-win situations whenever possible, respect the district in a positive way, or represent the district in a positive way, sorry. Being a professional business analyst, I bring the skills and the necessary bring what's necessary to the table to actively listen, collect information, analyze it, present some options, walk through pros and cons of all the options, and find a solution that's feasible for all stakeholders and agreeable and benefits all stakeholders. So I also come to the table with an open mind and empathy for our students and a caring heart. So I'll definitely lead with a caring heart there. I'm asking for your vote on April 4th, so we can make the next 3 years a positive, respectful, and make it productive so that we can move the district forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This concludes the school board portion of our forum. We want to thank the candidates for participating and wish them good luck in the upcoming election. We will now take a brief intermission while the candidates for mayor take their seats. Thank you. Good evening. Our final forum tonight will be for the City of West Bend Mayor. The candidates are Dennis Kelling and Joel Ongert. Gentlemen, welcome. We will start with opening remarks presented in alphabetical order. So Dennis, you may go first.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the Chamber and the City of West Bend for hosting this forum. Thank you to Joel for participating in this process with me and for the civil discussions that we've had. And most importantly, thank you to those in the audience and to those at home for wanting to learn more about our positions and what brings us here today. My name is Dennis Kelling, and I am running to be your next mayor of West Bend. I have been honored to serve West Bend as a county board supervisor for 4 terms, during which I served as first vice chairman of the board, chairman or vice chairman of numerous committees, and supported varying initiatives that made impacts throughout Washington County and the city of West Bend. During my time in public service, I have touched on all facets of local governing, supporting public safety, police, fire, and EMS, overseeing road construction projects in the millions of dollars, partnering with agencies to bring in successful economic development projects, and advocating for the sustainability of parks and library systems. My connections and resources throughout the county can be utilized to help move West Bend forward as your next mayor. During the day, I work in interstate operations and logistics, training staff, developing processes, and managing large-scale corporate budgets. I lead wherever I go, and I am confident that I can lead the city of West Bend. My wife Deb and I raised our children here. Over 2 decades, we have called West Bend home, and I want to build upon the strategic progress we've been making to bring good-paying jobs, affordable housing, smooth streets, and safe neighborhoods. I look forward to sharing with you more tonight how we can make this happen by voting Dennis Kelling for mayor of West Bend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Joel, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. It's been a long night. I don't think the Jets have reached a deal yet with Aaron Rodgers, but if that happens while we're up here, let me know. Thank you to the Chamber and Tony and your staff for putting this on, Kirk for hosting, and Dennis for being here as well. My name is Joel Ongert, running for mayor of the city of West Bend. I went to college in Peoria, Illinois, and got a business degree from Bradley University and started my career right out of college at Caterpillar, which is headquartered in Peoria. I've been at Caterpillar for almost 20 years now, managing teams in the field where we are selling equipment to our dealers, managing sales budgets, product support budgets, and obviously managing teams of people who are trying to grow our business. My wife and I have lived here in West Bend for 15 years. We are raising our children here in West Bend. My wife just moved her company to downtown West Bend, which we are very proud of. She immediately joined the Chamber of Commerce when she got here. We have a strong chamber, and she's really enjoyed the business tools that she is getting from the chamber. I'm heavily involved in the community. I serve on a lot of nonprofit boards and organizations. I was elected to the school board 6 years ago. My term ends next month. And in addition to that, I was the president of the board for 2 years. I'm a member of the Washington County Head Start program. I'm a member of the Senior Citizens Activity Center board, the Column Scholarship Foundation, the West Bend School District Foundation, and a member of the Washington County Republican Party. So have made my roots here in West Bend. We love it here. We love everything about this community. We want to finish our careers here and retire in West Bend. So I'm excited to be your next mayor to continue giving back to the community that my wife and I both love. So on April 4th, I ask for your vote.
Okay, thank you. We will start with our first question. We will have 8 questions tonight. First question will go to Dennis. What do you think is the most pressing problem facing the city, and how would you address that problem?
Thank you. I hear it from the voters. I've done over 800 doors so far, many more to go. Talked to several hundred people. The number one problem in their eyes is roads, and I think it's time we address that. I know that certain initiatives have been started on roads, but I think we need to really get a lot more focused on it. In my time on the county board, I did support our commissioner to work with the city to identify and classify all the roads and where they're at in their useful life so that we can generate a plan, a master plan of when they can be worked on, what they need and when they may need to be replaced. And I'm hoping to accelerate some of the maintenance that can be done on these roads once we have that plan in place and we can start bearing fruit. We used this plan at the county and we were able to fund all of our roads, almost $30 million, without raising any taxes. It's a very efficient system. It works well, and when we implement it here in West Bend, I think you're going to find that we can get more done by keeping up with proper maintenance and making sure that we can handle emergencies as they come up. And I'd like to see maybe a broad sweep of the city to take care of some of the patchwork that needs to be done right now, because I'm finding giant potholes that you could rent as an apartment out there. It's really kind of bad in the areas to the west part of the downtown. So I'd really like to see that, find a way we can do a quick patch on those things just to show the citizens that we mean business about roads. We're going to take care of them. The other thing is I want to make sure that the budget is just taken care of as well.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Joel, what do you think is the most pressing problem facing the city, and how would you address that problem?
Ensuring that our police and fire departments remain top priority and properly funded is the number one priority. But the number one issue is definitely fixing our city roads and infrastructure. It's as Dennis said, same for me. As I talk to residents in the community, the number one thing is how are we going to fix our roads? And so I will continue to push hard of our city staff to apply for other sources of funding. We don't want to fix our roads by simply increasing property taxes. So I will push on our city staff to look for state and federal grants to help pay for the growing costs of road construction. 18th Avenue, I live close to 18th Avenue that was reconstructed a couple of years ago, and 80% of that project was done from a state grant. Another piece of finding additional funding for roads is a referendum question that you'll all see on your ballot next month. Which is asking for a share of the county sales tax. I will be voting in favor of that. I ask you all as well to vote in favor of the sharing of the sales tax. That money will go right towards our city roads. It's money that is generated by all of you spending money in our city, and that would provide additional funding for us to fix our city roads. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we'll start with you, Joel. If elected, what do you plan to accomplish in your first 30 days in office and your first 90 days?
Great question. First 30 days in office is really going to be a listening session for me, and making sure that I am, right now in a campaign, I'm listening to all of the concerns of our citizens and, trying to figure out what the priorities are of our community. But I also need to have time to listen to our staff. We have great city staff here in West Bend, in all of the departments, and I also need to hear from them on what are the challenges that they face every day in trying to satisfy all of us in the community. So the first 30 days is really getting to know the staff, listening to what their needs are. I've already done that a little bit throughout my campaign, but as mayor, once it's official, I need to do a heck of a lot more. And then in 90 days is really diving in deep to the budget. That's where the mayor has major influence over the budget and brings the budget ultimately to the council for approval, but trying to figure out ways where we can prioritize our hard-earned tax dollars towards things like public safety, city infrastructures and roads, and the quality of life piece, which is our wonderful park system and trails. So listening for 30 days and then really diving in deep on the priority piece of the budget and where our hard-earned tax dollars go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, if you are elected, what do you plan to accomplish in your first 30 days in office and your first 90 days?
Certainly in the first 30 days, I would like to meet with the administrator as well as all the staff and really get to know them, what they're working on, generate some ideas to focus on the mission vision that we have in West Bend. This is something that's been set before us by the current council, I believe, and I like that system. We use something very similar at the county. So it'll be a lot of meeting with the staff and working with the administrator to get to know the players that work for us in the city. And then bringing in the people that I know, economic development people, speaking with them and looking for ways that we can put West Bend forward. I have an idea for economic development that I'd like to pursue with our industrial park, and that's going to take some outside forces, I believe, to help us get that done. So I would like to speak with them. Once we get through that 30-day period and we all get to know each other and start getting comfortable, I think that's when we can set our strategic priorities in order and start looking at ways to fund and work together to accomplish the goals that I want to put forth. Obviously, roads being one, getting through the downtown development project will be another. Looking at our budget, ways where we can cut down the size of our debt so that our revenues stay, your tax dollars stay here rather than go off to banks. They don't need your money. So that's going to be a very important initiative as well. But all this ties together with the industrial park, having good jobs and expanding our tax base. I think that's where we can really make a difference on all the other priorities, including public safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question, Dennis, we'll start with you on this one. What are we spending too much money on as a city, and where are we not spending enough money?
Well, I don't know that I've gone deep enough into the budget to make a blanket statement that, you know, what we're spending too much money on. I think the city has done overall a very good job with our tax dollars and our budget. If I had to pick out one thing, debt. We're servicing debt over $50 million, and if the interest payment on that, I think would be too much. We have very low debt in the county, and I'd like to see us get like that. When we have low debt, we have endless possibilities to do more things. And the second part of the question again?
What are we not spending enough money on?
I would say roads, and I think that's partially because our hands are somewhat tied by debt and our tax base. So that is clearly needs to be, more money needs to be put towards that. Again, through economic development, I believe we can increase our tax base and provide the money that we need for roads. It sounds like an issue that I keep harping on, but it is certainly something without a doubt that the people are tired of waiting for. And I think they've done, like I said, a good job, but the downtown reconstruction, very expensive, 18th Avenue, very expensive. There's got to be a way we can work to just do some smaller, cheaper fix to at least improve the roads until we can get to them and do a much more sufficient job. And I'd like to work with our Public Works Director and see if we can't find a way to just fill in and make things work better for now until we get it all done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Joel, what are we spending too much money on as a city, and what are we not spending enough money on?
we're not spending enough money on roads, and it's been that way for a long time, and that's why we're in the situation that we're in. The study that Dennis referred to with the county taking a look at inventory of all of the roads in the county shows that it's going to take about $10 million a year just to catch up. It also recommended, or looking back, that spending $2 million a year on roads for the past several years is simply not enough. And so we're not spending enough money on roads. It's been that way for a long time, and we have a lot of catching up to do. What are we spending too much money on? Nothing. There is nothing in the city that I could point to that would say that we are spending too much money on a certain area. We have the need to have items in our community. We don't have a lot of the want to have items. And I'll give you a couple of examples. It would be nice to have a police dog in the city police department. We don't have a police dog. That would be a nice to have. It's not necessarily a need to have. It would also be nice to have a mobile command center in our police department, which we do not have. So our city is frugal. Our taxes are low, and as citizens, we like that. I'm not saying that the buildings are falling down around us. We do a pretty good job of managing the assets that we do own, but we are not spending too much money anywhere in our city. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Question number 4, Joel, we'll start with you on this one. How would you describe your leadership style?
My leadership style is bringing people together, listening to varying opinions and views, and bringing people together to form consensus. You're never going to please everyone. I've certainly learned that in my 20 years at Caterpillar. I've learned that on my service on the school board. But you absolutely need to bring people together and listen to everyone's views, opinions, and ideas. This is a nonpartisan position. It's a position that you are representing everybody in the community. I like to make myself available is another leadership style that I'm proud of. My flyers are on the back table back there with my cell phone number on it. And as a mayor, I want to be someone who is accessible. And as a leader, I am that way with the people I work with at Caterpillar, and I was always that way on the school board. So being accessible to the public, listening to varying opinions and views, bringing people together is my leadership style. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, how would you describe your leadership style?
I start out every morning with a prayer before my feet hit the ground. And what I always pray for is to serve His will and not my own. Let it be about the people and not about me. And that's something that I hold really true and dear to my heart. So my leadership is best described as I am a man of principle. When I say I'm going to do something, I promise you I'm going to do it. When I say I won't do something, I promise you I won't do it. You got to be a man of your word. I think that honesty and integrity are the most important aspect of leadership. When people around you trust you and trust your word, they know you're going to do the right thing, and they will follow. I like to lead from the front. I won't ask somebody to do something that I would not do. I want to make sure that they understand that there's no low person on the totem pole. If it takes me rolling up my sleeves and washing vehicles, I do it. And I think people adopt that and say, okay, I understand that this man is somebody I can trust and follow and do it with. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Again, we'll start with you on this one, Dennis. What is the main challenge that you foresee in the role of mayor?
I think there's going to be several. Starting out with the downtown reconstruction project, I have been very blessed to have a lot of support from the downtown community, and so much so that I've kind of become friends with them, you know. And one thing, I don't let a friend down, and so this reconstruction project is going to be tough. And I tell them, I believe in honesty, it's going to be horrible for these businesses. I really believe that. It's just because you're tearing up everything in front of their stores. It's going to be very difficult for them to get customers in there. They're going to lose money. They're going to lose business. It's going to happen. But we did learn a lot when we worked with COVID. We learned how to do things differently. We learned how to think on our feet. I want to be there on Saturday mornings. We talk about good communication. I'm going to be there in person on Saturday mornings to be with my friends and find out what's going on. How was your week? What can we do? Is there something that's going on that maybe we can help you with, get you more business? I'm willing to do coffee with the mayor at your establishment to bring people in, customers. Maybe we need some signage, some promotion with the city. Hey, come to downtown. We've got all these stores open. We do it right now on the city page where we do coffee with the administrator and the mayor. I think that's a great idea, and I'd like to see definitely more of that. So I think immediately the first big challenge is going to be that reconstruction. Downtown is so important to our city. It's where we play. It's where we have our good time. It's where we like to shop. And I want to keep it nice. And it's going to be great when it's done, by the way. I really look forward to all those parking spots and clean streets. It's going to be wonderful.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Joel, what's the main challenge you foresee in the role of mayor?
In the role of mayor, personally, it's going to be patience. I love this community so much, and this city is doing great things, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I want roads to be fixed tomorrow. I want proper funding at our fire department to happen tomorrow, and a new fire station in our fire department done tomorrow. I want the downtown reconstruction project done tomorrow. I'm excited about the growth, the excitement that we have as residents in this awesome community. So for me, my biggest challenge is going to be patience. And some of the items I just mentioned, they need to happen, but they need to happen in a measured, strategic, conservative approach. And again, bringing people together to listen to how those projects need to be done and should be done. And so my excitement for the role and all of the great opportunities that we have here in the city of West Bend are not going to go away, but I just need to know that I need to have some patience and obviously keep the excitement. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Question number 6. Start with you, Joel. How do you plan to connect with your constituency if you're elected?
Yeah, my wife and I, like I said, we love this community. Our historic downtown is, it attracts residents downtown. It attracts new businesses here. My wife and I, what I'm trying to say is my wife and I are in the community a lot. We eat out a lot. We shop here. We use our park system. So, I think just, in general, I'm already pretty visible around town because I love it here so much that we use the city and all that it has to offer all the time. I am also accessible through, my Facebook page, my email, my cell phone. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. I don't care if you hate me, if you disagree with me. I still want to hear from you, and I want to hear your opinions and your ideas. One thing I would like to ask our residents when I'm the mayor is if you come to me with a complaint, please also try to come with some sort of an idea or a solution. That's always helpful. That's what I really want. I want to hear your complaint, but I also want to hear how do you think we could fix, what it is that you're complaining about. So my wife and I are very visible around town. I'm a member of the Sunrise Rotary Club, which we have 45 to 50 people attend our weekly meetings who are all business leaders in this community. Like I mentioned before, I'm heavily involved in nonprofits around town, sitting on boards myself, but also attending nonprofit events. So I've made just great connections already in the community. Just this week, I announced over 100 endorsements for my campaign. Every single one of those endorsements are city people. They're elected city leaders, they're former mayors, they're business CEOs, and then they're your neighbors and and of course, friends. And so I think I've already got some pretty good connections, but I love talking to people. My cell phone and my email will keep me connected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Dennis, how do you plan to connect with your constituency if you are elected?
First of all, if I would be elected mayor, I'm super excited at the possibilities. I have a very good friend and mentor in the audience, and that is Chris Jenkins, who's been probably, I think, one of the most outgoing mayors we've had in some time. He's been to every event, and he's worked very hard. And so I hope to take a whole lot of things from his playbook. Going to the parades and events, I certainly think is a very important part of being out there, letting the people know who you are. So many times in public service, we seem to be anonymous. Even as a county supervisor, I bet most people in this room couldn't identify who their county supervisor or city alderman are. So I want to make sure you know who I am. I want to be the face of West Bend. I'm very excited about that. So I want to make sure that I'm able to be gotten a hold of pretty readily, showing up at many events, and if it takes wearing a sash that says Mayor Kelling on it, I would be happy to do that, because I invite you to come up, introduce yourself to me, come talk to me. You can tell me your problems, you can tell me your dreams, you can tell me your desires, you can tell me anything you want to do. I am proud to be here as your mayor. And I think more of our city leaders need to adopt that idea. We are too anonymous in our jobs. And if you want things to change, we need to communicate and speak together. So I'm very excited, and I'm very hopeful for what we're going to do here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. We'll start with you, Dennis. Why do you want to serve as the mayor of the city of West Bend?
I think it comes down to needs. Originally, I was asked twice and turned it down. I will be honest about that, because I understood how tough of a job this is. I understood how important of a job this is, and the money involved to get elected and the work involved. And quite honestly, I was happy on the county board. I pretty much run whatever I want to do. It's been great. I've enjoyed good leadership there. But when it became apparent to me by several community members that it's my experience is what is needed here in West Bend, the experience of working in public safety with roads and with parks and economic development, I've touched literally every facet of government in the municipal level. I've worked on millions and millions of dollars worth of road projects, radio projects. So much that I've been able to do. And I think that experience is what really is needed in this city. We're at a dynamic point right now where we've had a lot of new development, a lot of good things going right, and we need to keep that going. And I believe that I am best suited to that job of keeping that up. Working in economic development, I want to fill that industrial park with family supporting jobs and a good tax base. Like I said, that all helps in our economic health and our vibrancy. That will be so important. I have the people and the connections in economic development to make that happen. And so that's why I'm running, because I know I can do this job tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel, why do you want to serve as the next mayor of West Bend?
Yeah, I love this community, and I started kind of thinking about running for mayor over a year ago, and started talking to my family, my friends, leaders in the community who strongly encouraged me to do it, simply because of how much I love this community. And then, of course, I have the background, a business background. I'm well educated and very well connected to the community. And I think the mayor should be someone who absolutely loves the community that they live in, which I do, and is also extremely well connected and well supported. I believe I have all of those qualities: the professional leadership, the good communication skills, and and vision for taking the community forward. The city of West Bend is really on a roll right now and has been for the past handful of years, and I want to be a part of continuing that, bringing in more businesses, bringing in more restaurants, bars, keeping our park system second to none in the region, and I love the community so much that I want to be a part of it and feel like I have something to offer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're up to our last question of the night. And Joel, again, we'll start with you. Why should you be elected mayor of West Bend?
Several different ways to kind of ask the same question, but that's okay. Yeah. I think I should be the mayor because I'm not going anywhere. This is not a stepping stone for me. Like I said, my wife and I want to retire in West Bend. We want to continue giving back to West Bend, which we will. We're raising our kids here and have put down deep roots in West Bend. So just again, want to offer West Bend, I believe, the qualities that I have as a leader and qualities that would suit the role quite well. And so looking forward to earning everyone's vote, but excited about the opportunity as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, I don't write them, I just
That's okay.
read them, so. Okay, last question of the night. Dennis, why should you be elected mayor of West Bend?
It's going to sound like a lot of echoing. I believe I'm the right man for the job. I have an excellent track record of voting and working together well with others, and that shows through. You talk to any of the people, like every county supervisor that takes care of the city of West Bend, they're all endorsing me. They're all supporting me, and they're all going to be doing doors for me too. They do that because of my leadership. I am the leader of that group, and that I can bring here to the city. I think that's so vitally important. This is no stepping stone for me either. I agree with Joel. I'm not looking to become anything more than heck. I didn't even necessarily want to do this, but I'm proud and glad to have this opportunity to do this. Going forward, I think it's all about the experience, the office, just taking care of my community that I just absolutely love. Being able to share in the prosperity of West Bend, leaving a mark on West Bend that says, we all work together, we brought it together, and we created something here. A vibrant community with good jobs, self-sustaining. This is what good leadership can bring, and this is why I should be the next mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Gentlemen, it is now time for your closing remarks. We will begin with Joel.
Sure. I hope I can earn your vote on April 4th. I hope you can see it in my face and my voice that I am excited to be the next mayor of West Bend. Last summer, I completed the Citizens Police Academy with our wonderful police department and really got to know kind of the inner workings of the police department. And I'm so proud of the men and women who protect us every day. I also earned the endorsement of the professional firefighters and have gotten to know the firefighters in West Bend quite well who support me, and so thankful for the work that they do to keep us safe and healthy. I'm proud of all of our city staff, from DPW to economic development to the clerk's office, you name it, Parks and Rec. They're fantastic. And I want to be the next leader who continues to support the great work that they do, but also work with our council to ensure that the vision and direction and mission of the city and all of our constituents is continues to head in the right direction. I think I've got the roots, the connections, the support here in West Bend to make sure that happens. Of the 6 current city council, city aldermen who have endorsed candidates in this race, 5 of them have endorsed me. And I'm honored to also have the endorsement of recently retired Police Chief Moyler, as well as the CEO of West Bend Mutual and Delta Defense and Serigraph and all West Bend endorsements that I am very proud of and feel that those connections can really help in my support and being a great mayor of West Bend. So I ask for your vote on April 4th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Dennis, your closing remarks.
Thank you once again to the Chamber and the city for hosting this event and for all of you listening. When it comes to endorsements, I just want to say a list will be coming out. You'll see all the businesses that I have, and I think it's great that Joel's got it. I have mine as well. I'm very honored to have Marty Schultheis, the sheriff of Washington County, as one of my endorsers. And it's not based on stuff I've said or whatnot. It's actual action that I've taken. I've been a huge supporter of public safety. So I think that's an important distinction. It's based on my action. Recently, as I was speaking with Wes and Joycelyn Feast, owners of The Antidote in our historic downtown, they are excited for downtown revitalization, but are concerned with the tremendous task ahead of us this summer throughout reconstruction. They want a mayor who will be that bridge of communication for them throughout this process. They want our downtown and our entire city to continue getting better, and they, like many other small businesses, believe that I am the man for that job. In the end, 30 years from today, where do you want to be? I want my children to be grounded here in West Bend with jobs that can support them, with homes that they can afford to live in, and parks that they feel safe to watch their children play in. Throughout my time in public and private service, I have proven myself to be a driven, capable leader with the background and connections to make things happen. If you agree with that vision of the future and the experience required to get us there, then I humbly ask for your vote. Vote Dennis Kelling, Mayor of West Bend, on or before April 4th. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. This concludes our forum tonight. We would like to thank all the candidates for participating in the forums, commend them for their desire to serve our community, and wish them well in the upcoming election. Got a couple special thank yous to the City of West Bend, in particular Jay Chambeau, Jess Wilds, and Andrew Black for their assistance in making this event possible. Thanks also to Chamber President and CEO Tony Gumina for organizing the forum, and to Chamber staff member Debbie Santopolo for being our timekeeper tonight. You didn't have to rough anybody up, so that was good. Please go out and vote on or before April 4th, and thank you for coming, and good night.